would like to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lewis Basketball, Football, and Wrestling Network. It is your boy, Lewis Koopy Don Luigi, and I am back once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another video. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like the stream as you guys come in. I wanted to talk about some NBA news. If anybody would like to jump in on this and see what their comments are, definitely put through. I put the link right up on the chat. And definitely, I would love to get your thoughts on it. So once again, make sure you like, subscribe as you guys come in. So, according to news, there is rumblings that's saying that. And before I get started, shout out to the man, as always, Freddie Gee up in the building. He says, "Damn, are you serious?" You're damn right, I'm serious. Yep. It says that the Golden State Warriors are low-key monitoring Karl Anthony Towns because Karl Anthony Towns is reportedly unhappy with Minnesota, and looks like there's rumors that possibly meaning that he would love to leave Minnesota and possibly go to another team. And apparently the Golden State Warriors have caught interest, and it's possibly that Karl Anthony Towns could possibly be a Golden State Warrior. And before I get, once again, let me shout out to my man, Kid Glory 5 in the building. He says, hit that like button for my boy Lewis and sub to the channel. Hey, I appreciate my man, Kid Glory. I told you, one of my loyal ones, one of my real ones from day one when I started this channel. I'm telling you, I appreciate my man, Kid Glory up in the building. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, smash the like button. Smash the like button as you come in to the Lbfwn. And I redid my channel art. I hope you guys like it. It's kind of because before I kept kind of tinkering with my channel arts to see what I was about, but this time I redid my channel art. So now you're going to see what pretty much the Lbfwn is all about. And as you can see, it's got AEW, it's got the WWE, it's got the NBA, and it's got the NFL. That is what I'm about, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you guys enjoy the channel art that I made. And it actually has the Shield. For those who know Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, it has all three of their hands coming together. And I put each of the sports that I cover, putting with their hands on it. And then I have the Lbfwn. And like I said, as you can see it on the channel, are subscribed. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Subscribe, okay? What are you doing in these Lbfwn streets, man? As soon as you see Lbfwn, subscribe to the channel. As my man Kid Glory puts out. And like I said, Freddie Gee says, damn, are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. So, once again, so the Minnesota Timberwolves are, there's a possibility that Karl Anthony Towns may get traded. I don't know if it's going to happen at the trade deadline. I don't know if it's going to happen in the offseason, for, the ending of the 2020 season. Because like I said before, there's reports that saying that he might be unhappy. And supposedly the Golden State Warriors are interested and they're kind of monitoring Karl Anthony Towns. And he possibly could be on a team that has Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Now, the question is that I have to ask you guys is, do you think, and as more folks come in, do you think that Karl Anthony Towns, how would he fit in with the Golden State Warriors? And would they have to trade D'Angelo Russell? Because if you remember, D'Angelo Russell had came out and said that one day he dreamed that him, Devin Booker, and Karl Anthony Towns would be on the same team. The only issue is D'Angelo plays for the Golden State Warriors. And, because he plays for Golden State, it's going to be kind of difficult because he would have to be a tradable asset because right now Golden State had to trade to get him. So I think that that's really important to keep in mind. So once again, like the stream as you come in, let me know what you guys think about that, man. Do you think that Karl Anthony Towns will be a great piece for the Golden State Warriors? I mean, when I look at it from the Warriors' perspective, they get an inside presence. They get a guy who has who can give you an easy double-double per night. And I say that when he's consistent, you have a guy who can definitely can get baskets inside. He's a guy who can stretch the floor. When he's focused, he can definitely be a defensive presence. And the thing is, he will be playing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, two players that can spread the floor. I'm interested to see what their offense would look like with both players on the same team, with all three players on the same team. And like I said, D'Angelo would kind of have to be the sacrifice. But let me know what you guys think. Shout out to Kid Glory. He says Towns is a post player who can stretch the floor. He will really open up the Warriors offense. No, he definitely can. Um, the only thing that I gotta say though is that I wonder. And I mentioned this, and shout out to RB the Breakthrough who came out with this with the breaking news. And I also was reading Bleacher Report on it. Um, but do you think that they should trade D'Angelo just to get Karl Anthony Towns? And I think that it's not enough to trade for D'Angelo because I think that they're gonna have to put in that draft pick. And we don't know what that draft pick is gonna be, but that's the reason that the Warriors kind of got that draft pick, which is why I say that the Warriors, to me, they're gonna be a major player next year. This is kind of like a little temporary break. Maybe not a championship per se, but definitely will be back in the mix when it comes to teams, because this is why I say that I feel like it's going to get harder next year with teams trying to put themselves in position to not only get into the postseason but possibly win their conference and get into the NBA Finals to win an NBA championship. And that, and that's why I say I know people get on the rant for joining Steph, Clay, and Draymond, but it's created more parity because look how widespread. KD set the foundation for how widespread the league is right now. So, and I've always said this, and then it's gonna make another video, guys, for LeBron and KD. I really think I should make that video. I think a lot of guys, people tend to get biased toward both players. But I think that the video that I make with LeBron and KD, I think is gonna bring more objectivity towards the video in terms of one, how similar that their moves were, and the bottom line is how they won their championships per se, because people are really trying to make the difference over one over the other. So it's crazy. So Clear Glory says, nah, they will keep D'Lo, but the Warriors will get rid of someone else. Hmm. If they were to get rid of someone else, who would that person be? Let me know in the comments. If they were to get rid of somebody else to possibly get Karl Anthony Towns, who would it be? Let me know in the comments. And like I said, if anybody wants to jump on here, there's the link. And you could come as a guest, and I would love to get your thoughts on that. So let's see. Shout out to my man Jay in the building. He says, except for Wiggins, everybody else wanted out because of Cat, and now Cat wants out. So he needs to man up and play solid defense on his next team. That's a fact. Shout out to Jay with the facts right there, because I just feel like Karl Anthony Towns, I feel like mentally, man, talent-wise, he's got the talent. But for me, mentally, I feel like a team like Golden State would open him up mentally, because then it's like, it's true. He's going to have to play solid defense on the next team that he goes to if he wants out. He can't be with this baby BS, man. I mean, there's no way. So shout out to, once again, Jay. He says, hey, man, everybody. Shout out to my man Clay Pro. He says, wait, what's going on? Okay, so here's what's going on. So there's a report saying that Karl Anthony Towns has had attitude problems, and that reportedly he wants out of Minnesota. And there's also reports that Golden State is monitoring Karl Anthony Towns as a possible piece to add to their basketball team. So just imagine this: Karl Anthony Towns, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Think of that Fab Four. And I say, with the Golden State system, Karl Anthony Towns would thrive in. And I said that I have my questions on that, even though Karl Anthony would thrive in Golden State. So Clay Pro, that's the news. That's what I'm telling you as the news. So he's saying Cat wants out. Kid Glory says D'Angelo can get you 20 points a night and about 7 assists. He can play make a pick and roll with Curry, and Towns is lethal. Yeah, very lethal. So AG says, and shout out to AG. And like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to, once again, to the Lbfwn. Appreciate everybody for coming through on this stream, because I think it's very important that we have to talk about this. So he says Draymond Green, Eric Pascal, Willie Cauley-Stein, and however many draft picks they want. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Minnesota would take Draymond Green? Because also remember, Draymond Green is making an average of $25 million, because remember, he signed a $100 million deal for 4 years. And there's rumors saying that the reason why Draymond Green wanted Kevin Durant out, or he acted the way he did towards KD, apparently, is because he probably wasn't going to get paid the money that he probably thought that he was worth had Kevin Durant not left Golden State. And Kevin Durant said it on ESPN. Like when you look at the contracts, it was gonna be difficult to hold, that Golden State team core together. And it's true. It's very hard. Because if you look at what KD did, he sacrificed for Steph Curry to get paid, and Steph Curry is a priority. He sacrificed to get the 1 year rental so that Klay Thompson could get paid. That's a warrant too. So I mean, everybody wants to get paid, man. At the end of the day, everybody's looking for that rich contract where they could get millions and millions. Number one, so they can invest. Number one, number two, so they can feed their families, and all this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, they're trying to get paid. So, but AG says Draymond, Eric Pascal, Willie Cauley-Stein, and however many draft picks they want. Um, that's an interesting one, though. We definitely got to look back on that. And I will say Eric Pascal has been a gem for Golden State. Clay Pro says, LOL, ain't happening. His contract is 180 million. I got to see how both teams deal with these contracts, though. It's true. I got to see how they do this, though. I got to see how they do this. He says, well, what's good with you? All right. Clay says, this is exactly why giving out max contracts can be dangerous. Exactly. Because the thing is, when you give out max contracts, yeah, a team can require an asset, but then you could be put in handcuffs because then it's very difficult to remove that contract if that contract doesn't pan out and that player doesn't play up to the level of the deal that they were given from the previous team. Clay Pro says, I don't think Golden State has the cap room, do they? I don't think so neither, though, to be honest with you. And so Jay says the T-Wolves fans ain't having that trade. I don't think they want Draymond Green because then they're going to say, well, you said you could give 20 and 10, so let's see you give 20 and 10. But ain't doubt that's going to be happening. Clay Pro says, kid, I'm chilling, bro. What's good with you? It depends how much they would pay Anthony Towns. Yeah, I think that's going to depend. Like I said, anybody who wants to come on here, there is the link. So I'm going to leave that up. So I'm just going to look through the comments real quick, and then I'm actually going to give my thoughts on what Golden State should do. So let's see. All right. So shout out to G Money in the building. He says, I doubt Cat is going to go to Golden State. Yeah. I'm kind of along your lines right there. I don't think he's gonna go to Golden State. I just think that's a really complicated situation. I mean, because it's crazy because I kind of thought it's kind of like saying you're trading a big contract in Draymond Green, and then you're going to receive a larger contract with Karl Anthony Towns. It's kind of like the Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul kind of thing. Both players are making over $200 million, and they were swapped for one another. AG says, well, Karl Anthony Towns got a max contract 2 for 5 years, so it will fit. It's interesting. That's interesting. Freddie Gee says, I feel like that's not enough for Cat. And I still think that D'Angelo Russell piece is going to have to be put in there, man. It's going to have to be. G Money says you could do Nets, Wolves, Pistons, Jazz, or some Blazers tonight. Well, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm actually going to address that at the end of the video. So I just want to focus on the Karl Anthony Towns situation with Golden State. I will address that at the end of the video, though. So I will address that. King Glory says, my man said they got families to feed out here. I mean, yo, a lot of these NBA players be having that mentality, bro. Like that's what it is, bro. Shout out to my man Josh the Goat in the building says hit the like button. Make sure y'all smash that like button as you come in, and make sure you sub to the channel if you haven't, bro. If you guys haven't subbed to the channel. So I appreciate everybody. So Minnesota Timberwolves fans, what do you guys think about this, man? Any Timberwolves fans, Karl Anthony Towns fans, what do you guys think about this possible trade scenario that could happen? Cat wants out. Golden State is trying to find a way to see if they can acquire that piece. I told you, people are sleeping on these Warriors, man. But they are going to be big players come next year, I'm telling you. And ladies and gentlemen, shout out to the man of the hour once again, G Money. Welcome to the stream. I see you got headphones on, man. What's going on with that? What's up? You doing a game tonight?
Nah, I'm just trying to talk about this Cat situation. In my opinion, if Cat went to the Warriors may have to give up D'Lo. What do you think?
I said that D'Angelo would have to be part of that trade if Karl Anthony Towns is going to Golden State, and I'm actually going to give my reasons as to why I don't think it's a good move for the Warriors. And it's actually not
Hang on, I gotta go.
no doubt. So while he is out, this is my opinion on the trade scenario matter. For Golden State, Karl Anthony Towns is a post player who can stretch the floor so that it can actually make their offense a little more. It can make their offense more versatile, so they could dump it out. He can stretch the floor. It'll actually create more floor spacing, to be honest with you. But here's why I don't like the move. The reason is because I would like to see what D'Angelo looks like with a fully healthy Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Number one, you can play off the ball with two players while you have a primary ball handler and D'Angelo and Steph, so they can play off of one another. Klay Thompson is going to be Klay Thompson. Now, you trade D'Angelo Russell, now they're lacking a playmaker. They're lacking a playmaker. So give me a second, G Money. I'm already explaining. I'm giving out my thoughts as to why I think that the trade to me it may help Golden State, but it can also hurt them. And here's why. So I said that you get Karl Anthony Towns, you get a post player who can stretch the floor, he can shoot, and also that the Warriors can actually they can dump it in the post. And I think that Steve Kerr would actually be able to utilize him because he's in a system. He's in a system, especially with the way that they space the floor. They could definitely use him. Um, the question that I also have is, and Jay made a great point, that he's going to have to play defense. And the Warriors are about, defending. Obviously, this era is about,
Yes,
we don't want
mom.
to play.
Yeah, I'm not ready, mom.
Uh,
All right, I'm sorry. I'm coming. I'll be there in a few minutes.
so, so yeah.
I
Hold on,
apologize.
G Money. No, it's okay. But when you say that, just mute it so that way we don't have to hear that part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's okay. I understand though. But like I was saying before, like I said, it's the benefit for him to space the floor. But I said that bringing him in, there's an issue when you trade D'Angelo because
Mhm.
Steph Curry can play off the ball with having D'Angelo Russell on the team, and he's done it before in the system. But I think with the fact that he has a little more pressure, the question is that if you get rid of D'Angelo, who is going to be the primary ball handler when Steph Curry gets double teamed? Because you're not going to count on Klay Thompson to create his own shot. And the thing is, he can shoot the hell out the basketball. And Klay Thompson has been taking more mid. He took more mid range shots last year and actually shot very good. From the mid range last year. But I think that losing him losing him is going to be it's going to hurt because then also it's who do you bring in for Steph Curry because now they're going to have to need a playmaker as well. When Steph Curry gets double teamed and they don't have anybody on their team that can create their own shot. Now you would say, yeah, that's where Karl Anthony Towns comes in. But if you look at Karl Anthony Towns, yeah, he can put the ball on the floor. But when you watch Karl Anthony Towns, he's more on post ups. He's more on, you know, you could dump it inside with him, but it's like again, it's like you have to feed him the ball for him to make something happen. That's not even kind of like the way that you would think that he's not. Like I said, with Steph Curry, he can get his shot anywhere off the dribble. Karl Anthony Towns is not that type. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think. What how this trade can? Do you think it's going to help the Warriors more, or do you think it's going to hurt them more? And do you think that uh, what how do you see that trade going down if that trade were to go through? Like what's the strengths and weaknesses of that trade? Just wanted to get your thoughts.
In my opinion, I think this trade will work for the Warriors because you have a big man who can space the floor in Karl Anthony Towns, who can post up inside. Because during the Warriors dynasty, other than DeMarcus Cousins, they didn't have a fully, a healthy big man that could stretch the floor like Cat can do. So I think it would benefit Golden State to take the pressure off, Steph and Clay. Because Draymond Green is more of a slasher. Draymond Green is not a great sports space space floor. So that's what I'm saying. Because he's not a great shooter. If you have Cat, you have a guy who is capable of shooting 40% from three, and a guy can give you 30 points and 15 rebounds a game if he puts his mind to it. The weaknesses are when it comes to Cat is that he's not a great defender when it comes to the post. He's kind of soft though. So I think that if Cat went to the Warriors, I think it would benefit Golden State because you have a big man who can, who can post up in the paint and who can hit the 3 point shot. During the Warriors dynasty, they didn't truly have that. You know what I mean, Lewis?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think. But a
And
good
people,
trade. So go ahead, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, finish your point.
No, you were going to say something.
Oh no, no, I know, but you can finish your point and then I'll continue. But go ahead, finish your point.
I think that a good trade package for the Warriors to get Cat, I say this. Maybe you could trade Kyle Bowman, D'Angelo Russell, Marquise Chris, maybe
Mm.
Jordan Poole for a few picks for Karl Anthony Towns and Robert Covington. That's a trade I would do if I were the Warriors.
Ooh, I didn't even think about Robert Covington. That's interesting. Chat, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about G Money's trade proposal right there? Few picks: Kyle Bowman, D'Angelo Russell, Marquise Chris, Jordan Poole for Robert Covington and Karl Anthony Towns. You think that's not enough or that's too much? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Um, but like I was saying, man, I think that with Karl Anthony Towns, I think that definitely with him, he's gonna have to play defense if he comes to Golden State, especially because he's coming into a culture that in the last 5 years, let's face it, they've been to the NBA Finals. They're about winning. They're not winning this year because of how many pieces they've lost, and it looks like they were purposely tanking, even though they had this little, they had this little mini streak, going on. And I say that I definitely think that he could definitely Cat will definitely help the Warriors. And for people, and I was gonna say was for people who are saying, well, they got DeMarcus Cousins. Let's be completely, completely honest. DeMarcus Cousins was working his way back
Mm-hmm.
into what he was with New Orleans before he tore his Achilles. So
Mm-hmm.
we never got to see really what a healthy DeMarcus Cousins was going to look like with Golden State. Because if you remember in the playoffs, he ended up getting hurt.
Oh yeah, you heard a quad in game two against the Clippers. Yeah.
That's right. He ended up popping his quad in game two, and he didn't come back until the NBA Finals. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
like, and if you remember, he was kind of being rushed back, and
Mm-hmm.
he still looked like he was lacking conditioning. And then on top of that, with Kevin Durant with his ruptured Achilles in the second round that he suffered against the Houston
No, it
Rockets, and
wasn't
that came.
Achilles. It was actually a. I think it was like some ankle or foot injury or whatever. It wasn't an Achilles though. It looked like that in Game Five against Houston though. It looked like that, but it ended up becoming like a foot injury. I don't know.
No, 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 no. It wasn't Achilles. People were trying. The Warriors and the media. Well, some members of the media were trying to downplay the injury, including the Warriors, and they were saying calf. But
Oh.
if you look at the way KD landed, and you see where you have to look at where he was holding. He was
Mm-hmm.
holding right below the calf, right below the calf,
Mm-hmm.
which is right where the Achilles is at. And then when you saw him try to drive in the finals against Serge Ibaka, you saw the calf. I mean, not the calf. You saw the Achilles literally rupture and just pop. If you see it in slow motion, the replay, it pops. And usually, when an Achilles injury happens like that, that's what happens. It literally just ruptured right off the bone, and that's why Kevin Durant had a really tough time trying to even put weight on him. And and that's why people were saying in the Warriors, whether it was Joe Lacob, Steve Kerr, they were saying like expect big changes. Even if the Warriors win or they don't win the championship, they were saying expect the word is seismic changes coming into next year for the offseason. So before we continue, I just want to let's go into the comments. Freddie Gee says Andrew Wiggins, huh? Wiggins, Draymond, Pascal, Willie Cauley Stein, and future draft picks. Nah, man, that doesn't fit the T Wolves because there's no consistent shooting. Well, Draymond Green apparently has kind of drunken the 2016 Kool-Aid and has been shooting like it's 2016 all over again. But I agree with Freddie. I don't think there's enough consistent floor spreading when you look at those moves. And it's true. There's no consistent shooting. So that floor is really gonna kind of be clogged. Even if they space the floor and shoot, it's not consistent. So I agree with Freddie on that. And once again, shout out to Kid Glory who says hit that like button. Exactly. Hit the like button as you guys come in. Ag says, nah, D-Lo's not going nowhere. Him and Cat are friends. They want to play with each other. You and no, it's true. and I said it before at the beginning of this video. D'Angelo Russell said he believes that someday him, D'Lo, Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns and Karl Anthony Towns are going to play together. Like he still has that mindset, and he thinks that all three will play together. And I said, well, that's a lot of scoring, but not a lot of defense. I said, and in order to win in this league, you gotta at least somewhat defend. And I'm saying with effort, maybe not the hard nosed defense that we saw in the early 2000s, and especially in the mid to late 90s. Even though the league was transitioning to a slower pace in the 90s, but you got to play some level of defense. Clay Pro says, if I was the Timberwolves, I would just trade everyone and look for a Kevin Garnett coming out of the draft. To be honest with you, if I'm the Timberwolves, I would really start selling players because they haven't really won with the team that they've had.
True.
I mean, they've gotten some talent. They've had Derrick Rose on their team. They had Jimmy Butler on their team. Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins really haven't shown the work ethic, to have players want to say, you know what, I want to play with that young core, help these guys out to really mold them into really very good players, because these are two very talented players. They just haven't lived up to the hype, to be honest. And Karl Anthony Towns can put numbers. His issue is really more so defense and his attitude. Defense and attitude is his issue. Wiggins is work ethic and attitude. You could kind of really pretty much say the same thing, inconsistent, because people were comparing Wiggins to quite a few players in this league, Kobe being one of them, and he hasn't lived up to that. And Kobe kind of said that he saw himself in Andrew Wiggins. It's just Andrew Wiggins has to put the work in. So who would they get for D'Lo then? That's a very good question. That's true. Who would they have to get in order if they're going to trade D'Angelo Russell? And that's what I said that I find interesting about that Robert Covington. That's a very interesting. He's a player who spreads the floor. Sometimes I feel like Robert, he tends to shoot a little too much threes in terms of his shot selection. He can be a very good defender. That's true. So Addy says give a trade package. So he gave his. What would my trade package be? I mean, quite honestly, it's gonna have. The funny thing is, Covington or Wiggins. No, they're not gonna get rid of. The problem is with Wiggins. Again, his contract is big as well. So I know the Warriors are not gonna go for that unless Minnesota tells them, if you want Karl Anthony Towns, Wiggins has to be part of the deal. But then what happens is that makes them super talented right there when you think about it. And like I said, a team like Golden State can probably rejuvenate, their careers. So, but the thing is, that's a lot of contracts you're dealing with, because Steph and Clay make max money. They're not going to get themselves in the luxury tax by doing that. I just think that's it just kind of doesn't make sense when we look at the trade packages. I mean, but I will lean more towards Robert Covington and Karl Anthony Towns. So I'm kind of in agreement with you with trading Jordan Poole, possibly even a Damian Lee. So you could really swap those players. So AG says, nah, D'Lo not going no. Yeah, so I read that part. Clay Pro says, I will probably recruit all of the Ball brothers and try to sell tickets off LeVar's lot. You know what? I'll probably go with some LaMelo. You know what, Clay Pro? Now that you bring that up, I got to mention this. So on the court, the Pacers were playing the Pelicans. The Holiday brothers, Aaron Holiday, Drew Holiday, and Justin Holiday all shared the court together, and they swapped jerseys. And I thought that was a cool moment. And I said, LeVar's got to be punching air right now, because his dream was that LaMelo, LiAngelo, and Lonzo were all playing for the Lakers. Only one Ball brothers in the NBA out of the three. LiAngelo LaMelo still has a chance to get drafted. And I said that it was a cool moment. And what was so funny, I was like, oh, look at this. The Holidays are playing during the holidays. So
literally.
So it's like literally. So I thought that was a really special moment. You don't see that in the NBA every day. It's very rare. I mean, and I think the Holidays, their parents, I have to commend them. I think they've done an amazing job raising those boys, and to see them successful and all playing in the NBA at the same time, that's a blessing that you don't see every day. And that's truly special. And shout out to all Holiday brothers, because they're all talented and they all play very well. Each of them, they're all talented. They play, and like I said, they play within the system. You don't see them with an ego. They just go out there and play. So I appreciate that from them. So Jay says, if Cat goes to the Warriors and if Draymond is the main piece, out, I would think that it would be a three-way trade. I think there's gonna have to be a third team involved. I think in order for this trade to go through, because Minnesota's gonna have to get something in return. I feel like it's not. Yeah, kind of. I'm leaning to what Freddie was saying. I don't think it's enough, man. I don't think it's enough. So Freddie says if that trade went down, Jeff Teague, Wiggins, Covington, Green, Willie Cauley-Stein, Pascal, and Gordon Dang. Nah, too many bigs and not enough shooting. Town stretches the floor. And that's a very good point because it's like, yo, you got Willie Cauley-Stein, you got Pascal, you got Dang, and you got Draymond Green. Those are four bigs. And you could swap them from power forward to center. So, especially with positionless basketball that we're in this era. So, I agree. Like, I honestly think that's very tough. Like, it's going to be a very confusing team. What kind of system do you run with four bigs? And it's like none of them are really post players neither. So that itself doesn't really help. Jeff Teague is inconsistent. Andrew Wiggins is inconsistent. Robert Covington is a good player, but he's also inconsistent. So there's just too much inconsistency with the kind of team that Freddie just put right here. So I agree. It's inconsistent shooting, man. It's really inconsistent shooting. So like again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you smash the like button as you come in and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So let me see. Let's continue looking into the comments. And so G Money, like while I look into the comments, is there any other possible trade that you think that Golden State and Minnesota could possibly make with one another, considering if they were to swap D'Angelo for Karl Anthony Towns? And if there's a third team that would get involved, what team do you think it would be by the trade deadline?
In my opinion, I think maybe like the Phoenix Suns might get involved.
Who do you think they would trade?
Maybe here's your trade package. Maybe Tyler Johnson. You could trade some guy named Carter. Maybe Cam Johnson can go in there, and Aaron Baines debatably. That's what I think.
Funny, where do you think that those players would go to if we're looking at a Golden State, Minnesota, and Phoenix trade? Who would go to what teams?
Maybe to Minnesota. Here's what I think, okay? Here's a good trade. Maybe the Warriors, like I said, could trade D'Lo, Kyle Bowman, Marquise Chris, and Jordan Poole to the Timberwolves. The Suns, I think, could trade Aaron Baines. I said maybe Aaron Baines is debatable because he's having a good year with the Suns. Maybe Aaron Baines to Minnesota if they trade Cat because he can stretch the floor too. Maybe you can trade Tyler Johnson also to Minnesota and Cam Johnson. This is just what I think. Maybe you could trade him to the Warriors. What do you think?
That's a really interesting trade. So Tyler Johnson would end up going to Minnesota. Aaron Baines would be going to Minnesota. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns and Robert Covington end up going to
Golden State.
And then D'Angelo Russell possibly going to Minnesota, or would he go to Phoenix? Then who does Phoenix get back?
Oh, I got to think about this hard. Wow, this is really difficult.
Yeah, because
so go ahead.
Because if you're gonna say that, then it's like who does Phoenix get in return? And it's like they got some talented pieces on their team.
Wait. D'Lo did say want to play with Devin Booker, so maybe you could trade D'Lo to the Phoenix Suns. Good thing back. I understand these guys can be ball hogs sometimes, but when these guys are red hot, they can really light it up. So
that's interesting. So let me know what you guys think on that. As I look into the comments side, do you think that the Phoenix Suns would be the third team that will be able to make all of these trades happen between Minnesota and Golden State and getting them involved? And it's like, if you were to include the Phoenix Suns, let me know in the comment section, who would you trade from all three teams for that everybody pretty much happy with the players that they've gotten in that trade? Let me know in the comments. So let me just look in the comments real quick. Freddie says Cat would have to be on the perimeter, setting for screens for Clay and Curry. He would be used like DeMarcus Cousins, not too many post-ups for Cat to disrupt the flow of the offense. In DeMarcus's case, he was not healthy, so he had to be used more so as a guy who could set screens. Because I wonder how they were going to run their offense with a fully healthy DeMarcus Cousins. And at times, last year because if you remember when Kevin Durant went down, they actually had to change their offense from a more ISO heavy team with Kevin Durant, and they went to a more post play with DeMarcus
Mhm.
Cousins. And DeMarcus Cousins actually helped them. He actually gave them more options, and it was actually even more difficult to defend. And so they were saying that DeMarcus Cousins was actually going to help them spread the floor because then not only would it be harder to double team Klay Thompson, obviously Steph Curry, who's the floor general of the team, but then it'd be even more difficult to double team Kevin Durant because now you have a guy who not only can post up but can space the floor. And when you look at the different lineups that they can now play with a DeMarcus Cousins, it's like you could put him with some shooting, and then he could be the primary focal point. He could stretch the floor so he doesn't get in the way of clogging the paint. See, because if DeMarcus was just a post player, then it would be very difficult on how to use him. It would be to the point that he would just have to defend, which he's not really a good
Yeah,
defender.
he's not. He's
He would,
very slow on defense.
exactly. He's slow footed on defense. He hasn't had the best conditioning up until he started to started to lose weight trying to play for the Lakers right up until he got hurt and tore his ACL, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And my prayers are up for DeMarcus Cousins that he, makes a full
I,
speedy
I
recovery.
heard. I heard Boogie might come back for the playoffs though.
There's different rumors. They're saying that he might be back for the playoffs. Some people are saying that he might even possibly come back before this season is over. Looking at it probably like a late March, early April type of thing. I mean, we're gonna have to see like as the season goes along and some of the news and updates and rumors start to like rile up when it comes to DeMarcus Cousins. Um, and even then, so it's like DeMarcus still has to work his way back into shape as well. It's kind of like the same thing that he was doing with Golden State. It's like for him to get 3 injuries in a 19th month span, and then he has to work his way back. All these injuries caused DeMarcus Cousins to possibly pretty much not get a max contract because that's what he
Mhm.
was playing for. He was going to get a max contract, and a lot of people forget, but he was offered 2 years, 20 mil a season for $40 million, and I know he's looking for that huge contract, but it was like he possibly could have took that deal, but then that would have constricted the Pelicans, knowing the fact that look what's happened now. He ended up getting injured,
Mhm.
um, for Golden State, uh, and that's why I say that now it's important that a lot of these players that come into camp out of shape, and then they have to work themselves into shape during the season, just come into the season in shape. And even though injuries are a part of the game, you won't have to deal with it as much when you're in better shape as compared to when you're out of shape. Because when you're out of shape, trust me, you're more prone to injuries a lot quicker and much harder than you are when you're in shape. But sometimes it always depends on how players land, what kind of contact that they make with non-contact. So it always depends. So in continuing, Cat can shoot the downside. Cat can shoot. The downside is his defense. Yeah, he has to become a better defender if people are going to take him seriously as one of the best big men in the game. I'm going to say that he's one of the best offensive big men in the game, even though he can be inconsistent on the offensive end too.
Mhm.
Because there's times where he brings it, and you say, man, Karl Anthony Towns can be a beast. And then there's other times where you're like, yo, Cat is soft. And right now, when I look at Karl Anthony Towns, he's just a talented, soft player. I don't see that grit. I don't see that dog. He's got the tools. He's got the talent, but his mentality is just really, really, really soft.
Mhm.
And Clay Gorey says Towns needs to step up his defense. Facts. If he's gonna get the recognition and he's gonna get this, and if he's really gonna up his value, he's gonna have to play defense. There's no question about that. Um, so let me just continue here.
Yeah, you read that
Um,
already.
yep. Let me see. Just gonna keep going. So, yep, he's got to bring it on the defensive end. Okay, Kid Glory says that's too much, but the Warriors keep D'Angelo and still gets Towns, but won't get as much money. But he will be in a better system and have a chance to compete for a championship. I think if Karl Anthony Towns brings it defensively, and he will have Draymond Green in his ear, if Draymond Green doesn't get traded somehow. But if he does, I think that Karl Anthony Towns, number one, he'll be rejuvenated. And like I said, he's playing with a good coaching staff, veteran coaching staff, Steve Kerr, Mike Brown, being with those people. And again, being with Curry and Thompson, they're going to pretty much fill him in on how it is and what the expectations are when he puts on a Warriors uniform, especially that same Warriors team that has been to the finals for the last 5 years. And obviously, they're not going to make it this season or even be a playoff team, but still, like, it's about winning. So, and Karl Anthony Towns has to change his mentality to a winning mentality. There's no F ups with Golden State.
Mhm.
Young Simba, shout out to Young Simba TV. He says facts. They say calf. No, it was not a calf injury. They keep saying calf, but no, it was an Achilles. That was the hidden injury used by Golden State. It was that they saying it was a calf. It was not the calf. It was the Achilles. You have to look at where Kevin Durant was holding his right hand on his right foot when he got injured when he shot the jump shot over.
Iman
I believe
Shumpert. Iman Shumpert.
it was Iman Shumpert. I thought it was PJ Tucker.
No, it's Iman Shumpert. Look at the replay.
Okay. Okay, I could be wrong, but whether it's Iman Shumpert or PJ Tucker, I know he shot it over one of those guys. But point is that that's he was holding on right damn near the Achilles tendon. So Kid Glory says Wiggins is averaging 25 this year. He's been playing consistent. He has been. My question is, what's that going to look like for next year? Is he going to digress once again? Because this is really the first season that Wiggins has been a more consistent player. He's shooting, what, a career high 47, 48% around there? And he hasn't shot that in his time in the league so far. So Josh says the Warriors would definitely be a formidable if they acquire Karl Anthony Towns. They definitely can. And like I said, they can put themselves in championship contention if the brother plays defense. That's going to be the key. Can he defend? Can he bring it every single night? Can the Warriors depend on him consistently? So I think that they definitely can. Um, Kid Glory says Booker can get 28 a game, Towns can get 25, and D'Lo could get 20. That beats a lot of teams with their scoring. See, but that's the thing that I said, that what you're going to get from all three of those players is a lot of scoring. And I know the name of the game is you have to outscore your
Oh,
opponent.
you had to play
But
some
once again,
illegitimate defense.
but you got to play some defense. You got to play some defense. Defense in championship games, they matter.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're in this era, playing defense still matters. You can't ignore that. Or else we would just be honestly playing like 80 basketball. And no, and it's like the old saying goes, defense wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
And I still stick by that motto. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Raptors. They won a championship playing defense. Even if the scoring looks the way. So shout out to Maze FWN. He happened to copy pretty much my name, but I appreciate it. I call him my young protege. He says some people on Golden State struggle when it comes to shooting. They could trade those people and get Cat who can shoot, but his defense is soft in the way. So I'm kind of leaning towards what G Money was saying and what Freddie, because they both are speaking really big facts. In terms of the players that Freddie was talking about, it's not enough consistent shooting and then not enough bigs. And then with G Money, I agree on his point that I think a third team would have to get involved. But then, like he said, and that's why I posed the question: who would Phoenix have to get in return? And that's why it's a difficult, thing. So then, you guys let me know what third team, in your opinion, do you think could really benefit both Minnesota and Golden State, so that pretty much all parties are in a winning situation with players that they can acquire, maybe some cash and maybe some draft picks. Let me know who that third team could possibly be. Oh, and by the way, now that we're mentioning talking, tonight's game on the Lbfwn, and I will be doing it with the Godfather Jefferson on Speaking My Sports Talk, will be the Phoenix Suns against the Portland Trailblazers. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that.
Don't forget, Phoenix is only a game and a half back of Portland, so that's a big game for the Suns. If they win that game, they'll only be a half game back of the Blazers, and they lost their last 11 games to Portland. Yeah.
That's right. That's true. That's a very big game. Shout out to Geek. Hopefully, let me see if that comment will click. There we go. I like this part right here. He says, "Look at what Jimmy Butler's doing in Miami. He changed the culture in Miami and have them balling. The Wolves were balling before Butler got injured." So, G Money, I want to get your thoughts on this comment right here with Kid Glory and what he said right there
I
about
mean,
Jimmy Butler.
he had a good point because I remember Minnesota being the number 3 seed, I think, until Butler got hurt against the Rockets, and then Minnesota like nosedived and then had to play a playing-in game against the Nuggets for them to get in with Butler. So yeah, I think losing Jimmy Butler did kind of hurt Minnesota's defensive mentality. And Jimmy Butler's done a good job in Miami, having dogs like Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. These guys have really fall under Butler's leadership, and they've done a good job. Miami 24-8, 15-1 at home, and the Heat they're fun thing to watch. They have some dogs in that squad, man. They don't have a top level team, but it means why Jimmy Butler has done a good job in Miami because he's starting to become less selfish. in Philadelphia and especially Minnesota, he thought he was bigger than what he is. Now he's falling. Now he's understanding to play under the team system, and look what the Heat have done. They've been rolling over teams.
Wow, that was a very, very excellent, well thought out, and very articulate comment that G Money just did. I mean, shout out to him. And here's my thoughts on this comment that Click put. We got to give Jimmy Butler a lot of credit because remember he's had the reputation on his last stints with the Bulls and then going to the Minnesota Timberwolves and then going to Philadelphia. As G Money says, that there are times that Jimmy Butler thought he was bigger than what he was, and that he thought that he was worth a lot of money. And I said that Jimmy Butler is nothing much more than really an all-star player,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see him as I don't see him as like that alpha, like that guy because I feel like that to me that's what Miami's missing. And like I said, shout out to the Miami Heat. They have a nice, talented young team
Mm-hmm.
there with Bam Adebayo, with Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. Let me not forget Kendrick Nunn as well.
And they know
You
what
know,
decent this year. Yeah,
and so, but I think they're missing that consistent go-to guy that they're going to need in a 7-game series. And I think that Jimmy Butler, to me, he complements what they're missing. To me, they're missing a superstar player, or at the very least, a second star player that will, put those guys, over the top as contenders. I mean, but in this Eastern Conference, I don't think that Miami, to me, I still think that they're about a year away. If they can get that key
mm-hmm.
piece to help Jimmy Butler, and like I said, they get that consistent option, that number. Because the thing is, Jimmy's the number one option for now. But the thing is, he's not consistently scoring, 20 points a game. His numbers are actually really down, but he's playing within a system. So I think that to me is important to know that. But I give him a lot of credit because he's been a very good leader. He's been holding guys accountable on defense. The Miami Heat are 24-8. And like I said, they get themselves another big piece. Look out for this team. They can become championship contenders like that. Just
Exactly.
like that. Just like that. Um, so let's continue and we go to the comments. So Kid Glory says Curry's a superstar, so that money has to be there for him. And Clay is an all-star player and a top 6 two-way player in the league, so he deserves his money also. Crazy part is Clay was supposed to make an All-NBA team, and if he had made an All-NBA team, Clay would have gotten himself real max dollars. So he got a pretty good enough contract, but he would have made even more had he made an All-NBA team, which he ended up not doing. So I think that's what hurt him to make even more. But once again, it's like it was kind of a blessing because if y'all remember, when Steph Curry was having all those ankle injuries and the Warriors gave him that $44 million deal for 4 years and he was just making $11 million a season, Steph Curry ends up miraculously being healthy, playing about 78 to 80 games the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he ends up getting a very large contract, becomes what, $201 million man. So, cool Steph Curry. And like I said, his career was in doubt. And then now he becomes a 2-time MVP and he ends up winning 3 championships. Obviously, with some of the help of Kevin Durant and all these guys that he's played with. But like I said, at the end of the day, like I said, nobody saw this coming from Curry. Nobody. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw Golden State coming. That team came out of nowhere.
Especially in 2013. 2013 is when the Warriors started to come up. Because remember, they were ranked to miss the playoffs that season. And they ended up winning 47 games, I think, to beat the Denver Nuggets in the first round in 6 games. And almost, if you look at that series against the Spurs, if they would have won game 1, they would have had a 2-0 lead going home back to Oracle. They might have won that series and played the Memphis Grizzlies in the conference final. Who knows?
People don't really understand how much problems Golden State gave San Antonio in that 2013 Western Conference semifinal series. And that was actually the coming out party for Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes played really well in that series. I remember Steph Curry had a 44-point game in that game 1 that they lost, I believe, in double overtime in game 1.
Yeah,
and the Warriors,
for Manu Ginobili's game winner, yeah.
Yeah, and the Warriors had a double-digit lead in that game. So it just tells you that the Warriors, they were on the come-up. And like G Money said, nobody had the Warriors going into the playoffs that year. It's so crazy the amount of things that people forget about that, man. It's crazy. So Clay Pro says exactly. Shout out to Young Simba TV. He says Golden State, Western Conference semi, Damian Lee for the trade, Willie Cauley-Stein. Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, a couple of picks, and the T-Wolves get Anthony Towns.
Okay.
I still don't think that's enough, though. That's not enough for me. It goes back to what Freddie Gee was saying. I mean, I like it. obviously the Warriors want to get better, but it's like you got to give something convincing that the Timberwolves either they get some like expiring contracts, they got a player that they can build for the future. But it's clear that the Timberwolves, they have to be sellers at this point. They have to be. They definitely have to be. So with Kid Glory, he says one of the Ball brothers led the league in steals. He was finessing stuff in China. Oh, the LiAngelo Ball? Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. I mean, LiAngelo led the league. He led the league. And they actually got him kicked off the league because they didn't even think about drafting him though. So let's see. Let me just go. Dang, a lot of comments happen. All right. Young says, or wait till the all season and trade the pick if not wise. You know what? I would actually really wait because it's like I said before. I want to see what D'Angelo Russell looks like with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. That three-headed trio, three guys that can shoot the three ball. And like I said, you have Steph and you have Klay who can play off of each other and handle the ball. And both guys can play off the ball. None of them have to share all of this ball handling responsibilities. It will make it makes it easier a lot for both guys. And they can both, like I said, play off the ball, come off screens. So, especially with that system, yeah. Kid Glory says the Warriors trade Cauley Stein, Kyle Bowman, let's see, Marquise Chris for Covington and Towns. That was kind of like what G Money was talking about. And I still think that we would have to see to and shout out to family GZGZ. Appreciate you for coming through. I think he says holla at me. All right, so I'll holla at you, man. Appreciate you. Once again, if you haven't, like the stream and make sure to subscribe to the channel, to the LBFWM. We are talking about possibly Karl Anthony Towns going to the Golden State Warriors. And I know that set off Freddie Gee like crazy because he's like, damn, they just keep getting all the best players. But look at it this way. The Warriors, they don't settle. They try to make their team better. And if you look at the way the Warriors started, man, this team was a laughing stock, okay?
Yeah, they were a joke, man.
That team was a joke. Look at all the players that they ended up drafting. Some of these players could have been on other teams. Remember, the Timberwolves passed up on Steph Curry in the 2009 NBA draft. People forget that. They ended up choosing
Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio. Bad idea.
Exactly. They took Johnny Flynn, who's not in basketball, and Ricky Rubio has been on a lot of teams. He's now playing with Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. But think what the Timberwolves would have had if they would have had Steph Curry. With his prowess. I mean, people, those are the things you kind of forget about. You look at Klay Thompson. I mean, and people forget also that Klay Thompson almost was traded to Minnesota for Kevin Love right before the 2014-2015 season. So that's why people really need to understand. When people say that Golden State is the greatest team ever assembled, there were a lot of what if scenarios, and we probably wouldn't be talking about Golden State. And like G Money said, this team was not predicted to make the playoffs the first year that they went in 2013 under Mark Jackson when he took over. People forget that stuff. That's why I said that when you really study the game of basketball, you got to take things into proper perspective and proper context. When you make up all these kind of stuff just to boost a player, just to put them in that stratosphere, you got to look at all of the scenarios, because all of these things almost didn't happen.
The Wolves could have been trying to see they had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
That's right. Kid Glory says before Cousins got injured, he was clearly the best center in the league. He wasn't near the level he was at before the injury, but he was getting better and outrunning point guards in a few games. That's true because he was working himself into shape is what I kept saying. And I said if you look back at that 2018-2019 season, when Kevin Durant missed a few games, they were running their offense through DeMarcus Cousins, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were still getting open looks. That's because if you double team him in the post, because they know how effective DeMarcus Cousins is at scoring the basketball. So that's why you have to understand that they were able to find a way to play through that. It's just with Durant in that season, they were actually doing more ISO. And I said that the Warriors are dangerous when Durant plays within the system because he can still get his baskets. He's still going to get he's going to get open mismatches. He can still go one-on-one because you can't double him, you can't double Steph, and you can't double Klay. And it's pick your poison. You go to those three-point shooters, Kevin Durant gets a one-on-one matchup all day. You try to double Kevin Durant, Steph and Klay could be open on the wings. And then remember, both of those guys can move without the ball. Same thing that Kevin Durant has started to do, move without the basketball. That's why their offense was even harder to even guard. And that's why the league hadn't really caught up to what they were trying to do. And that's why when the league finally caught up, that's why Golden State was having the last two regular seasons were kind of difficult for them,
Yeah,
especially when they played.
2018 when they had to play against the Rockets, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if OKC had gotten their shit together, they probably could have been them too. But they really don't play a system, so that's kind of their issue. So Freddie Gee says that's true, Lou. Cousins was hurt. I didn't think about it from that aspect. I still would have given him his touches, though. I mean, yeah, I mean that's your opinion. I mean, you would have given him his touches, but again, it's like if you're running an offense where it's about post play, which is really we're not even in this era anymore in terms of post play. You're going to run things through Cousins, but it's like, again, he was working himself back. And like I said, even when Kevin Durant missed games, they went through DeMarcus Cousins, and you see that they were still able to score enough points. And that's because with DeMarcus Cousins, you can actually slow the game down. DeMarcus Cousins is not and the thing is, DeMarcus Cousins can actually run the floor. It's just like G Money says, he's really not a good defender and he's very slow footed on defense. But DeMarcus can run the floor. And like I said, he can shoot from the outside and he can stretch the defense. So, that's what's, really important. And, let's see. So Kid Glory says these NBA players nowadays don't work out. Only a few of them actually put in the work. Yep. Agreed. And shout out to Olivia Ross. Shout out to Olivia Ross. Appreciate her for coming through. She says, do you think that the Warriors can keep D'Lo and still get Cat? The only way that I see that happening is, like I said, I think if a third team gets involved, and like I said, that the players would have to be, it's like if Minnesota was getting, like I said, if they were to get some like low-level contracts, if the Warriors were to give them like some cash consideration so that they could kind of build their revenue for cap reasons, like I said, if they were able to get a third team involved, then I could see that, but it's going to be very difficult. So I think if you're the Warriors, you first you want to see what D'Angelo, Clay, and Steph can do. Number one. Number two, you have to see how well D'Angelo plays the rest of the season, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt to see what
Yeah,
he's.
I'll be back. I gotta do something, okay?
Are you talking to me or are you talking to?
I'm telling you, I'll be back. I gotta do something.
All right, no problem. All right. So as G Money comes back, and like I was saying, Olivia, and shout out to you once again. I think that for them, it has to be the point to where a third team is going to have to get involved. And like I said, there's going to have to be pieces, in my opinion, that's going to have to be convincing enough because you want the contracts to match up, number one. And I don't think the Warriors want to be in the luxury tax because remember, Steph and Clay already, they make the most money on the team. And they have 3 max contracts, Draymond, Steph, and Clay. So, we have to see. So if I'm the Warriors, I kind of play the waiting game a bit, unless if there's something else that they could possibly, make, right? So Kid Glory says that Olivia, they can still keep Russell. And they definitely can. They can still keep D'Angelo. It's just the complicated issue is what trade can they make to get Karl Anthony Towns and see if they can involve a third team. I think the third team has to get involved because everybody has been calling those Warrior players G League players. So it's like they really don't have a lot of value. So they don't really have a lot of use. So, we have to wait and see. Kid Glory says that's why the Raptors beat the Warriors because they had lockdown defenders and the best defender in the league, Kawhi. They had defenders who could defend anybody, and people need to understand that they do. And like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to once again to the Lbfwn. Appreciate everybody for coming through for this. I think it's very interesting to see what happens. So Tech Moose basically says, I hope, and shout out to Tech Moose. He says, I hope that Karl Anthony Towns does not get traded. It's gonna be interesting, man, because it's like then it's got from
I'm back, man.
All right, no doubt. As G Money's back, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it's gonna be interesting because, like I said, Cat already wants out, and like I said, he hasn't really been fully committed. When you could tell by his attitude and his work ethic.
Unmute, please. I'm back.
No, you're already unmuted, bro. You're unmuted. Yeah, I didn't mute your mic. You unmuted it yourself, so you're back. I can hear you. So yeah, so he says I hope it doesn't get traded. I mean, I hope it doesn't matter. I mean, I gotta see, man. And Kid Glory says I'm pulling up for that game. Appreciate you. Hope you come through for that Blazers game. Suns Blazers tonight. LBFWN. I'll be doing it with D. Usually we don't do late games, but like I said, since I'm pretty much off, we usually try to do early games. But we'll definitely be in for tonight's game. And so Olivia Ross says, who would they have to give up in order to keep D'Lo? Like I said, well, for D'Lo, it's going to have to be quite a few. Like I said, it's really going to depend. Let me know who you guys think that they're gonna have to give up to keep D'Lo. But I think, like I said, a third team's gonna have to get involved. Um, Kid Glory says, I can agree with y'all. Butler is a top six two-way player, and out of the top six in that category alone, Butler is one of the most consistent. Also, the Sixers were dumb to let him go. Yeah, they were. They were. To be honest with you, because it's like I said, if MB doesn't play well, who's going to play well on that Sixer team? That's what I don't know about. And remember, they lost JJ Redick too, so they have a little bit less shooting. So I think that that's important. So shout out to Kid Glory. He says, yeah, he does it, especially on the defensive end. It looks like G Money kind of went out for a second. Kid Glory says, yeah, at the end of the season, awards matter, but Clay ain't a me player. He helps out the team when it's time. Yep, agreed. And so let me just go back. Okay. He says, facts. The Warriors came from nowhere and they caused problems for all the top teams in the West. That's what people don't want to understand, man. And Kid Glory laughing. And Raduni, shout out to Raduni. He says D'Lo needs to go if Cat came to the Warriors. Yeah, he's gonna have to be a tradable piece. I just don't. I don't see how they could keep him, man. Let's see. Young Slim Simba says, how people feel about Giannis' possibilities to go in Golden State. Well, if Giannis goes to Golden State, here's the issue I have with that. Remember what he said. He said he's not about that, and like I said, people's minds can change. LeBron said that his mind ended up changing and he ended up going to Miami. Kevin Durant's mind changed when he said that what's going on with players leaving and forming these teams, but his mind changed and he ended up going to Golden State. So like I said, it's like when you go through a season, especially with the media, if you let it become a distraction, you definitely can change your mind, especially when you look at the landscape of the NBA and you see what people are doing. Players talk behind the scenes. I mean, people were saying the possibility that Kyrie and Kevin could have possibly went to New York. Kyrie was upset and he was like, yo, you don't know what we're talking about. And guess what? Truth and behold, they're both in Brooklyn. They talk. So shout out to Chris Cruz, man. Yo, who do you think the Clips are going to go for or get rid of? Well, I mean, there's a possible player. There's a couple of players that they're actually trying to go after. Iguodala would be one. I heard that they're trying to get a trade deal to get Thaddeus Young. I'm interested to see who are the Clippers going to give up. To be honest with you, I feel like the Clippers lack a big man and they lack a playmaker at the point guard position. And they could use another shooter. Those are, to me, things that would, but they are very deep. And definitely the Clippers are in contention for a championship. It may not look like that from the regular season, but they are championship contenders right now, just like the Lakers. Because it's funny, both the Lakers and the Clippers could really use a playmaker. Both teams could use a playmaker. The Clippers could use, because like I said, the Lakers' strength is their front line. Their front line is their strength. The Clippers, it's their perimeter defenders, even though they haven't been consistent. So the Clippers' strength is the perimeter. The Lakers' strength is interior. And both teams lack a playmaker. So, that's what's really important. So for Chris, I heard that they are trying to get Thaddeus Young, and I also heard Iguodala. I mean, he gives them an extra body to throw at AD and LeBron if they wanted to do some switching. So that would make some interesting options for Doc Rivers. But I think, in my opinion, they should really try to go after and try to get themselves a playmaker. But Thaddeus Young does give them some versatility, so that's interesting. I'm interested to see who would they give up, though. Let me know in the comments. So Kid Glory says, Young Simon, that means it's GG for the league. Yep. The Clippers should go after Jamal Crawford. Kid Glory, thank you for mentioning that. And nobody's talked about that. I honestly think that they really need to go after Jamal Crawford. I mean, this guy last year just had a 51-point game, which means he could still subdue some things, man, on the floor. He still has speed, solid speed. So I think that that's really important, that nobody's looking at Jamal Crawford, but he would be great for a Clipper or a Laker team. Clippers do need a big man. Those are facts. At Kid Glory, that will compromise touches. Lou Will and Jamal will not mesh. I think if they were to play together, yeah, especially because Lou Will does need the ball in his hands. Yep, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So let me go back real quick. And whatchamacallit, Kid Glory says, at Chris, Crawford's coming off the bench because Lou Will would be starting if he isn't already. No, Lou Will comes off the bench because Patrick Beverley starts. So the thing is that if they were to bring a Jamal Crawford, would they have to get rid of either one of those players? And then it's like, again, Lou Will is the primary sixth man. So that means that now that's the thing. That's see, that's kind of complicated if they were to sign a Jamal Crawford because Jamal Crawford can score. Lou Williams can score. Patrick Beverly is a defender and he can shoot the three, but neither of those guys are really playmakers, like traditional playmakers. This is what they lack. Both them and the Lakers. But my thing is that even if they get Jamal Crawford for the Lakers, it's like, is LeBron still going to be facilitating the offense? See, that's the issue right there. If LeBron was an off-ball player, I would be for the move. But because he's an on-ball player, that's the problem. I think Jamal Crawford would be great, but it's like I got to see how that's going to look. That's the problem because as I've mentioned so many times, and even Freddie Gee, LeBron can't play off the ball. That's the problem. So it's like that's going to be an issue right there. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Layla in the building. Shout out to her. Layla, are you going to be in for the Suns Blazers game? Because I'm doing it with D tonight. So I'm going to pick the Suns and Blazers. So I'm going to see that. So hopefully everybody make sure y'all tuned for the Suns Blazers game tonight at 10 on the Lbfwn. Shout out to Layla and G Money. I will put the link. Just give me a second. Yeah, Lou Will can start, but he's part of that second rotation. And I agree with Chris Cruz. I think that's just kind of going to be kind of tough because now what does that second unit look like? That's very true. That's a very good point, Chris. I didn't even think about that, but that's a very good point. Clippers would be unbeatable with Karl Anthony Towns, but he's toxic. We don't need. Oh, yo, that's facts. That's facts. And if we're going, it's true. So let's just continue in the comments right here. Let's see. Let me just check for G Money, man. Yeah, yeah, that's right. So let me just look. Let me just put that back on. Just give me a second, guys. If anybody wants to jump in, awesome. Like I said, anybody wants to jump in, there is the stream right there. And like I said, if you haven't, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the Lbfwn. Okay, Kid Glory says the Clippers have defenders. Harold, Beverly, PG, Kawhi are the defenders. Two of them are lockdown defenders. PG and Kawhi, Karl Anthony Towns would have no choice but to play defense. I mean, definitely with the Clippers because you know Doc Rivers is going to demand on that defense. Welcome back, G Money in the building.
Yeah, I apologize for the situation. It's just that I tried to come back, but the audio was bad and stuff.
Gotcha. It's fine, man. Appreciate that, man. No doubt, no doubt. And like I said, anybody who wants to jump in, you could definitely, pull up with me and G Money. She says, Karl is soft as tissue. Yep. As a matter of fact, like Kobe Bryant said, he's Charmin soft. Charmin soft. Soft as Charmin. But would fit great with Golden State because the Splash Brothers are dogs enough. I mean, y'all, have y'all ever heard of Game 6 Clay? If y'all haven't seen Game 6 Clay, that brother is a dog. Dog.
He's a flamethrower, man, in Game 6s.
Clay is that brother is a flamethrower. The Game 6 flamethrower. That's gonna be my nickname for him, man. Game 6 Clay is a flamethrower. He's a Splash Brother originally, but he's a flamethrower every Game 6 he plays in big games. That's facts. People forget. He had 33 points in the NBA Finals in Game 6. And I said he shot a career finals. This was his best finals of his career. See, people keep talking all this nonsense, but Clay has not played well in the finals. In the first 4 finals that he's played in, he's had a game or two there. But it hasn't wavered his defense because he's been consistently good on the defensive end. But he's never had a breakout series. He's only had 1, maybe even 2 good games in each of those 4 finals. But he's never had. This was the first time against the Toronto Raptors, even though he played in the 4 games, that he was actually consistently good in those NBA Finals. And he shot 51% in the NBA Finals. And in Game 6, he had 33 points. Before he went down with the ACL injury, he had 33 points. And maybe the Warriors don't win the series, with Klay Thompson at the very least. But I think if he continues to play at that level, they go to Game 7.
Yeah.
So as G Money's talking, okay, so Raduni says the Clippers need a guy like Marcus Morris. Oh, thank you for reminding me, Raduni, because the Clippers are actually looking for him too. He's another piece that they're actually looking for. We definitely got to pay attention to that as well. So it's Marcus Morris, Thaddeus Young, Andre Iguodala. Keep an eye on those three names for the Clippers. Oh, Jamal Crawford for the Lakers. So keep an eye on that for sure, and even for the Clippers too, possibly. We really don't know how these things play out. Um, Even with Kevin Love, excuse me. So let me just go through the comments really quick. Ooh, shout out to Chris Cruz for this comment right here. He says, Thaddeus Young for Mo Harkless, Iggy for Jerome Robinson, and a second-round pick, and Thompson for Caven Gill and Terrence Mann. Win now mode.
Yeah, I apologize for this gazillion time. My dad was wanting me to do something.
That's fine. Chris Cruz is like the ESPN trade machine. He's making some really nice possible trade scenarios right here. For Thaddeus Young to be a Los Angeles Clipper. And I said that Thaddeus Young would actually help them in terms of their versatility, in terms of what they could do. But he is kind of small because what they really lack is they need a rebounder and they need a shot blocker at that center position, or at least if they were to get him at a power forward. Because Zubac is good, but it's like he tends to get into foul trouble. They need a big man who can consistently play defense and not get into foul trouble. And like I said, can really change the game on that end to block some shots in the rim. Because if there's a weakness of the Clippers, it's not only playmaking at the point guard position, because they do tend to turn the ball over a lot, but it's also because they are weak in the interior. Their interior defense is very weak. They have a stronger perimeter defense than they do interior. With the Lakers, they lack perimeter defenders. Their defense is strong, but it's really more so when it's kind of smoke and mirrors with both of these teams, because the Clippers are good in the perimeter.
And they're good at on-ball too. They're a very good on-ball defensive team, but the Clippers don't have shot blocking. You know what I mean? That's why I personally believe that the Lakers will win the West. I apologize for interrupting you, Lewis. I'm just trying to speak my mind. I think that the Lakers will win the West because I just think that when you guys have LeBron and AD, I think these guys will like penetrate to the rim and they could kick out the shooters like Danny Green, Avery Bradley, Kuzma if they don't trade them. That's what I think. I just don't think the Clippers have the interior defense to slow down. I don't forget Dwight Howard too. You saw what he did against the Mavericks last night. He looked like Orlando Magic Dwight Howard, getting lobs, dunks, all of that. So I just think that the Lakers to me just have more firepower than the Clippers, and that's why I think they'll win the West. And I just think they're more experienced. So
that's a very interesting point, and I can respect that opinion. But here's the reason why I don't think the Lakers are going to win the West. And the reason being is because it's like I said before, what kind of system are they going to be playing when the playoffs start? Is Frank Vogel going to still be there as head coach, or do they plan to get rid of him and then put Jason Kidd in? Because I got to see if Frank Vogel even makes it through this season. And and the funny thing is, the Lakers are what? They're 25-7. Oh no, 26-7. 26-7. So they've played pretty good so far. But then it's like, number one, we have to see what kind of are the Lakers going to make any moves at the trade deadline. And it's like I said before, can Danny Green be consistent enough? Can KCP be consistent enough? Because it's one thing if LeBron and AD just kick out to these shooters. But my point is also, and then you have to look at the Kyle Kuzma factor. Is he going to be in rhythm enough for them to be that consistent third guy? And that's why I said that what kind of system are they going to be playing in the playoffs to tell me if the Lakers can get it right at the right time? I'm not saying that the Lakers aren't capable of winning the West, but it goes back to what I'm saying, because LeBron kind of dominates the ball and he's kind of a deferent. And that to me is very important. And I'm not saying that the Clippers are not without their flaws too, because if they don't get their interior defense mixed up, and it's like I said before, if you watch the Christmas game, and I'm going to do another video on that in terms of the Lakers and the Clippers. I'm going to do another video on that. But Montrezl Harrell, the way that he defended the pick and roll on Christmas, that's something that the Clippers have to get themselves addressed. Because the thing is, he has the talent enough to be able to step out and guard, the players. But it's like, AD would actually get more open jump shots
Mm-hmm.
because he can stretch the floor if Harold doesn't if they're not careful. So I think the Lakers have to really consider the lineup that they play to be able to use that pick and roll. If Harold's not going to step out and shoot and defend, the Lakers can exploit that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, yeah. But it's again, I just think in terms of the inconsistency with the shooting, that's why I said that the Lakers have a lot of things that they can take advantage of, and I would agree with you if they take and play to their strengths. Because here's the thing: if the Lakers get out of character and start shooting 3-pointers like they did on Christmas, because give the Clipper defense credit, but the Lakers shot themselves in the foot not using their interior presence to their advantage. If
Mm-hmm.
they do that, see, that's the thing. That's going to be, it's for both teams, it's an if. Um, but they're definitely contenders in the Western Conference for sure. Both of these teams. Um, so let's keep going. Let me see. Let me just continue to go down. Um, let me see. And here we go. Uh, Dang, that was just a lot. Oof. All right. So Layla said she's going to be here. Appreciate that. Um, Let me see. Let me just go down really quick. So that's what I said with G Money. Also, G Money, let me know this. What do you think is going to be? What do you think is a weakness of the Los Angeles Lakers that you think that would prevent them from winning the NBA championship? At least trying to win the West. Weaknesses.
Oh,
I know their strengths. What would their weaknesses be? Because I mentioned pretty much some of them.
oh, they turn the ball over too much, and they get into this habit like the Rockets sometimes when they jack up a bunch of threes. I think the Lakers' weaknesses they got to limit. They have too many turnovers. Their free throw shooting because I think
Mm,
they're like 29th in free throw shooting, which is ridiculous, which is terrible. I think they got to work on their free throws. They're limiting the turnovers, and also the fact that they got to stop being the Rockets. Because, like you said, on that Christmas game against the Clippers, they took like what 45 threes. I think they were trying to do what Houston usually does, which is jack up a bunch of perimeter shots. Yeah, the Lakers can hit threes sometimes, but like you said, they got to use the interior game more. They got to go to the low post. They got to go to the paint. They settle for too many threes sometimes. And that's why that's the weaknesses. They get to perimeter. They're too much of a perimeter team at times. They turn the ball over too much, and they're not a very good free throw shooting team. That's are things that could stop them from going to the NBA Finals.
exactly. And I said that if the late, and this is why AD in some senses kind of says that the Lakers kind of beat themselves, and it's true because they got away from what was giving the Clippers problems. Because if you look at the amount of block shots, I said that the Clippers, that's what they're lacking. They're lacking length because their strength is more so on the perimeter. They're more outside in, while the Lakers are inside out, and the Lakers need to play inside out. And I said the Lakers had I think 11 block shots on Christmas, so it just shows you that their length can gives the Clippers a lot of issues. It's just the problem is they beat themselves by attempting 45 threes. The Clippers only took 25. They attempted 20 less 3-pointers. And if you look at how the Lakers lost, the Clippers had more points in the paint than they did. That's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be the Lakers' strength. And the Clippers attempted 25 while the Lakers tried to pretend like if they're the Golden State Warriors
Or the
or
Houston Rockets.
the Houston Rockets or even a mid 2000s Phoenix Suns and just keep shooting a bunch of 3-pointers. And they're not a consistently good 3-point shooting team. That's why you have
Mm-hmm.
to play to your strengths. Your 3-point shots will open up if you use your interior. And like I said, use the pick and roll. And
Mm-hmm.
they need to exploit that. If Montrezl Harrell is not going to step out and defend the pick and roll, they can take advantage of that because then what you could also is you can get yourself a little bit more inside. You don't even have to take away. You don't even have to take a long shot. And if Montrez does step out, that leaves some more off ball. And this is what I want to see the Lakers try to. They need to involve some plays where there's some off ball movement. I want to see guys cut because I think that would expose the interior. If they take more jump shots, you can kind of space the floor because now you bring. Then if you force Harold to come and step out, that whole painted area starts to open up. So that's what the Lakers need to take advantage of. That's very important. Shout out to Colin Gray. He says the LeBron system. And the reason that I'm really noticed about this LeBron system is I'm hoping that LeBron is not running the show in Lakerland because if he is, I'm telling you, they're not going to win. They're not going to win because LeBron's ego is going to be his own downfall. If they're going to win, and I said it once and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say this when I make the Clippers video, and I would love for people to get their touch up on it. LeBron James cannot be the center of attention and try to be LeBron centric and everything because if he does, The Lakers are not going to win. Then you have to look at Anthony Davis and then what's his future going to be. I mean, he wants to me stay in LA because he's looking for that max contract. I'm just wondering to see what would it look like with some because the free agent class is kind of be kind of down compared to what it was this past off season,
Mhm.
but still good enough. But then 2021, that free agency class is going to be crazy. But if they don't win, then you have to look at yourself and say, well, what the excuse is going to be this time? Because it's like you can come with every single possible excuse, but it's like you can't. And the thing is that if you look at the Lakers' history, they're about winning. And before I continue, I'm gonna say this: the Lakers they were not winning before LeBron got there. I understand that. Yeah, they went through mediocrity for the last 5 years before LeBron got there. But remember what the media was saying that LeBron can go to any team and make them an instant finals
I
contender.
agree,
That
and they were wrong because LeBron played what 55 games last year, and LA was like what 28 and 27 with him. And people always want to bring up the fourth place narrative. I understand that, but remember, they were only like what 2 games up at the ninth seed on Christmas at the time, and like teams like the Memphis Grizzlies and the Sacramento Kings were in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And the Clippers were like the number one seed. I always tell people it's a long season. All right. I can't. Yes, the Lakers had injuries. I get all that, but what we also need to consider the fact that they also had some bad losses, like the Knicks, the Suns, the Hawks, the Wizards, the Cavs. Those type of losses that were really head scratching.
and it's true. And what I was saying was is that and I'm not here to trying to bash LeBron, but it was like people are calling LeBron this great leader. It's one thing to lead teams, but it's another thing to be a leader. And like the mark of a leader is to be able to empower your teammates, to make them to believe. A lot of times LeBron kept isolating himself, like he didn't even want to be part of the group. And so my thing is that so if you're LeBron James, you have to force adversity to make yourself play better. If that's the case, and that tells me as great as you are, you're not as great as you claim to be because you have to force adversity for people not only to continue to talk about you, but then it's like if you don't care, then it's like why do you answer questions in a way that you do when it comes to certain reports, when it comes
Mhm,
out when he has issues with teammates?
mhm.
Because if you don't care, it's just a next question. Like I'm not even going to entertain it. Look, I'm not saying everybody has to be like everybody, but it's like, look, a Clay Thompson is a perfect example. Clay Thompson is not known as a big time player, but people were talking about his free agency. If he possibly going to join LeBron and all this or that. What did Clay Thompson say? He said, "I'm not going to address that. I'm not even going to talk about that until the end of the season." And you know what he said? He said, "You guys can continue to talk about that and keep asking me, and I'm just going to give you the same answer." The media never bothered Clay Thompson about that question ever again.
Because Clay knew he was going to be a warrior for life, in my opinion.
He wanted to be a Warriors for life, but Klay Thompson even said himself that if the Warriors didn't find a way to give him a max contract, that he was not going to stay with the Warriors. Because let's face it, Klay has been a very valuable piece for Golden State since he's been drafted there. That's a
Mhm.
homegrown talent that you're going to lose in the offseason. And be honest with you, think about it. D'Angelo Russell, think about if you lose Klay Thompson. You only have Draymond Green, D'Angelo Russell, and Steph Curry.
But here's the thing: when they're traded for D'Lo, though, think about that.
Well, that's because remember Kevin Durant was going to Brooklyn, so there's like they had to get some kind of compensation. So think about it: Steph and Draymond by themselves. Draymond says that he can average 20 and 10 in his sleep and hasn't really done that all season. So that's BS. And then
Mhm.
Steph Curry. Think of all that pressure that would have been on Steph. He has nobody, he has no consistent player that he can give the ball to knock down a shot if he gets double teamed. So now
Mhm.
you're asking a lot of these G League players, and with all due respect, because they are NBA players at the end of the day, it's not easy to make it to the NBA. So let's get that out the way. But again, it's like guys who you can consistently depend on. That's not going to happen. So now it's like Steph is going to be facing double teams from game one all the way to game 82. If you were to play 82 games, that's a lot of wear and tear, number one, on his shoulders. And then he possibly could get hurt. So, as important as Steph Curry is when he goes out because of how the offense flows through Steph, it's just as important that if another key piece goes out or they end up losing pieces. Look who they've lost. They've lost Kevin Durant. They lost Andre Iguodala. Imagine if they had lost Clay in that same offseason, and he's coming off an ACL injury. Steph possibly gets hurt, and then Golden State would be in a much worse position already than it was. And fortunately for them, they didn't lose Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and those guys can possibly come back this season. Even though I think that they should
I
hold
don't
off till
think they'll
next year.
come back. Cause think about it, this team is 9 and 25. They're not making the playoffs. I personally think they should rest them until 2021. Because let's say hypothetically somehow the Warriors magically got into the playoffs as an 8 seed. What is the point doing that only to get killed in the first round by the Lakers or the Clippers or the Rockets or whoever, rather than tank the season, try to get a high draft pick, and then wait for Steph and Clay to come back healthy, and then you have a lineup of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, maybe Wiseman, you never know. And maybe if D'Lo's starting the team, I have D'Angelo Russell at the point. No, at the point guard, I think. Right. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good starting five.
Say it again. Say that last part again.
I think that the Warriors. I don't see Steph and Clay coming back at all this year. I'm just saying that what's the point bringing them back? That if you do somehow made the playoffs, you're only going to lose in the first round in like 5 games. I'm just saying that Golden State should tank the season to get a good draft pick, so you have a good lineup when Steph and Clay come back with Draymond. Maybe you don't trade D'Lo, who knows? And then you get
Yeah.
Wiseman.
Yeah, true. All right. Shout out to Chris Cruz who says the Lakers can't win the West with guys like LeBron shooting 12 threes. Facts.
Mhm.
Also, AD has never been under those lights, and based off of what I've seen the past two regular season games against the Clippers, he didn't finish his thought. Maybe it probably more down, but it's true. Um, Oh, right here, where he says he hated the physicality against the Pigs. And this is the thing, 80 is a finesse player at the end of the day. He's not a physical player. So we have to understand that. Even though AD can play in the post, his posts are really more so on drives because he doesn't really have like moves in the post. He's a hybrid big who really is a guy who can space the floor. He can hit the mid range. He can hit the 3 point. He puts the ball on the floor. But when it comes to banging big guys, he's not known for that, especially because he has a very frail body. So he can very get injured against guys who are anywhere from like 250 to 300 pounds, especially because they're more physical and like they have more mass and, like I said, more bulk to their bodies. So he wouldn't be able to take that kind of beating. Before that comment, Kid Glory says, D, I disagree. I guess he was talking about Speaking My Sports Talk. If you are here, D, appreciate you as always, my man. And we're doing Suns Blazers tonight, even though it's a late night game. But like I said, I'm off, so we could do that. I disagree. The Clippers will beat the Lakers come playoff time. The Clippers don't have the shot blocking like the Lakers, but the Clippers haven't shown what they can really do at their absolute best.
That's what I've been saying. I just another thing too. I apologize for interrupting, Lewis. The
It's fine.
Clippers, they're not a good playoff team. You get what I'm saying? Because remember, with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, many people thought, oh, the Clippers will be the team in the 2010s, but they never really got the chemistry going in the postseason. And remember, like I said, Paul George is not a good playoff performer. I don't trust Paul George in the playoffs. That's another reason why I don't see the Clippers being the Lakers because I trust AD in the playoffs. I trust LeBron in the playoffs. I trust Dwight Howard in the playoffs. I don't trust Paul George in the playoffs because remember he's had some good moments, but I told you the guy had a 7 point game in a game 7 against the Heat in 2013 and a 5 point game in an elimination game in game 6 against the Jazz in 2018. So I just don't see PG just magically playing well in the playoffs. That's just me.
And people forget in that game 6 that Paul George had those 5 points. He shot a ridiculous, woeful, forgettable 2 for 18 in game
Mhm.
6. 2 for 18. So yeah, Paul George has got to be in the playoffs. Um, that's right. So let's see. Let me just go down real quick. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. So I think I sent it to. Oh, okay. I see. Yes, bro. I agree with you. Trust needs to step up.
Mhm.
Let me just go down real quick. LeBron turns dog. The Lakers win the West. No cap. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's very possible. And G Money makes a good point. If we see playoff P, the Clippers have
Playoff
no chance.
PP, actually.
Playoff P. That's a good one. Playoff PP. I'm gonna use that more often. I like that one. I meant made. LOL. Not make. Got it. Let's see. Um, but still losing with all these shot blockers on the court. Yeah, no. Like I said, if the Lakers really use their IQ and use their length to their advantage, the Clippers will have a hard time because then the Clippers perimeter shots they'll have to play from the perimeter a lot more than they would like to. Because remember, they were getting their points in the paint off of drives,
Mm-hmm.
penetration, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was leaving guys open when the Lakers would go double or they would try to get weak side help guys would cut to the basket. So the Lakers would have to take that. Um, YC says it's Cat a Warrior. No, but there's rumblings that he wants out. YC says no. Whatchamacallit, you don't know what you're talking about. LeBron is a humble dude. I'm talking about on the court, not off the court. LeBron is a humble dude on the court.
No, I think
And
LeBron's a humble dude off the court. On the court, he's a good player, but he's kind of a bitch on the court, in my opinion.
if PG can be consistent in the playoffs, then it's a wrap for the Lakers. And that's the thing. That's a big if. Kawhi can beat them by himself, and we'll get the Clippers 2 wins against the Lakers. But if PG consistently shows up, yeah, that's
a lot
again
of
that.
if.
But the Lakers have a bunch of ifs themselves. That's why I said that it's going to be interesting. He's not a Warrior yet. I think the Lakers can dog their way into a championship, but LGZ has zero dog in him. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then he's going to get all the credit if they win and say, oh, LeBron James, we already know LeBron. Listen.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like LeBron fans. LeBron fans make the most excuses. Like the 2018. I apologize for interrupting. Forgive me. Like the 2018. Like, remember when the Cavs got swept by the Warriors? People say, oh, but LeBron had no one on his team. Kevin Love was an all-star. J.R. Smith was a sixth man in New York. Kyle Korver is one of the best shooters in NBA history. I understand that team wasn't great, but don't forget, that team swept the Toronto Raptors in the second round, who had the best record in the East, and won a Game 7 on the road in Boston. Like I said, LeBron always gets these excuses when he loses. Where was this excuse for Allen Iverson in 2001? Like, he had an old Mutombo, Aaron McKee, Eric Snow against Kobe and Shaq Lakers, and even Jason Kidd with the New Jersey Nets. Kenny Martin was a good player, but he's not a star. Richard Jefferson was young. Kerry Kittles, really Keith Van Horn. And even in 2003, Jason Kidd, Nets weren't all that great, and he won 2 games against the Spurs, who stopped the Lakers' 4-peat bid. So if LeBron gets these excuses, how come the other all-time greats don't get these passes when their teams are overmatched, you know?
Woo! Damn, I don't know what to say about that. You know what's so funny? And they've used this always on Kobe Bryant. I mean, and to one extent, I agree. And it's funny that they never hold Shaq to the same standard, but Kobe and Shaq both played the weakest competition of any dynasty in NBA history. The Indiana Pacers, they were a good team, but they were an older team. Though this was not the younger Indiana Pacers. And Reggie Miller was their best player. They had a good player in Jalen Rose, but it's like their team was about a lot of much more scrappy veterans. Again, Shaq is going to feast on Dale Davis, Rick Smiths, and Sam Perkins. Okay? Sam Perkins was very good back in his day with the Mavericks and with the Lakers and, with the Sonics. But this is 39-year-old Sam Perkins. Of course, Shaq was going to feast on that. Like, people forget that too. And then they want to say, oh, but Kobe wasn't. I get it. Look, I can be one of those that say, oh, Kobe went 3 for 15 in game 5 and scored 8 points. I didn't forget that because I saw the game. I remember that.
They got slaughtered in that game. Yes.
33 points. I still remember that score. 120-87. I still remember that game.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can mention that. But G Money makes a good point. Folks, he makes a good point. He makes a very good point. Like, it's crazy how these all-time greats have always never gotten really like that much of a pass compared to this guy he does today. Okay? I told you, he's one of my top 10 greatest players of all time on my list. I have him 9th. But then it's like, even then so, like why again, would you consider that? Like, how can this guy cannot get a pass? Like, it's crazy to me. As great as this guy has been in his career, as great as he's been, then an excuse is always lined up. I mean, I still remember go back to 2018, for example. The man, he had a very nice team with Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, and these guys. There was a lot of issue. Isaiah Thomas obviously was injured. I get all that. And then he ended up coming back. But remember that I mentioned in my video, folks, and you guys should go check it out on the LeGroin Gate versus the Cologne management one. You guys should go check that out. But I said that LeBron had missed the previous game with a groin injury prior to the Christmas Day game. And I also said that Frank Vogel had came out and he said that the Lakers hadn't practiced in 10 days. And remember, that was the issue with the 2018 Cavs before the trade happened. That they were really not practicing. And Isaiah Thomas had called out. He told the media about that, about how the Cavs were not practicing. So I'm like, why aren't you practicing and getting yourselves in rhythm? And it's like, you have to work with what you have. And then those guys end up getting traded. And then I told y'all, after LeBron lost to the Warriors in Kevin Durant's first year, Dwayne Wade came out to the media and said that LeBron was already planning to go into Los Angeles. He was already planning that. And then I said that it didn't look like things were going to work out.
Damn.
It was going to be a way to escape. I'm like, why aren't you practicing? So that's okay. So it looks like that's G Money right there. In terms of his audio. So I feel like that was his case. Um, but I just want to be short on this one. But it was like I was saying, like again, you had a really nice solid team, but then you end up trading those players away. And then LeBron so conveniently leaves, and then he ends up going to, you know, he ends up going to the Lakers. So basically, it was kind of like, and again, what did this dude wear after Game 4 against the Warriors? He had a soft cast and pretty much said, "I played with a broken hand." Your hand was bruised. It wasn't broken. What was broken was your spirit. That's what your cast symbolized your broken spirit, my friend, and you put your wife's scarf around it. Like, and it's so crazy how many excuses people were giving him in that at that time. That to me was crazy, man. Um, so let me just go back really quick. Let me just go back. Let
Yeah.
me just say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I apologize for interrupting you. I agree. At the game 4, when they got slaughtered by 20, LeBron wore the black cast on his, I think it was his right hand, saying that, oh, I broke my hand after game 1. It's like, here's what I thought. Game 1 was like what, a week ago, like a few games ago. Like, why didn't you wear cast then? But after the sweep, then you're wearing that. I understand JR fucked up not knowing the score, but don't forget, remember, LeBron that last play could have drove to the rim past Steph Curry for a layup or a dunk. And the way the NBA is today, they probably call a foul on KD or Draymond. We know that. And don't forget, George Hill, an 80% free throw shooter, missed a huge free throw that would have given his team the lead. You get what I'm saying, Lewis? I understand JR screwed up by not being aware of the situation. But I'm just saying that JR Smith is not the only reason why they lost the game. There are other factors that people need to keep in mind. The missed free throw, LeBron not being aggressive, going to the paint, the block charge call when Cleveland was up to, when Durant was going to the buck and LeBron had good position. You know what I mean?
Yep. Let me break that down in context. LeBron had an amazing game in Game 1 against Golden State. He had
Mm-hmm.
51 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is his fans have been holding on to those. They've been holding on to Game 1 ever since they got swept. Here's what happened. I'm not mad about LeBron passing the ball to George Hill. I'm not mad because he cut to the basket and Clay had to foul him. So I'm not mad about that play. That's fine. But what was glaring about that as well, though, what that told me, and looking back on it, was that LeBron was not gonna. I told you in big when it comes, and I said it before. Throughout the game, free throws are not going to hurt LeBron. It's in the waning moments of a basketball game that you have a chance to win and you have a chance to put the stamp on that game. That's where LeBron shies away from the free throw line because he doesn't want to be the reason that they possibly end up losing the basketball game. And he's gonna get blamed, obviously, like no matter what. But you got to understand and do it within the context. And what I keep saying is that okay, JR messes up, and JR screwed up because he didn't know the score. Yeah, I told you, I give JR. He again, you have to understand this is boneheaded JR Hennessy
Mm-hmm.
Smith we're talking about.
Just
Okay,
idiotic play right there.
okay, so it was idiotic on JR's part. That wasn't my issue, and it was a tie game at that point.
But
My
don't forget,
issue was
George Hill missed the free throw. Don't forget, if he makes that free throw, they're up by 1. Don't forget, and he was 80% in the playoffs.
so I get all that. So yeah, so we could blame George Hill on the missed free throw. We could blame JR on the missed blunder. That's fine. The problem was look at the picture during the timeout. Look
Mm-hmm.
at LeBron James's body language and look at his facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was listening but him on the sideline. He asked Ty Lue if we had a timeout, and look what he did after. You still had a tie game and you had overtime to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my point. And if you're the leader of the Cavaliers, if you're the best player, which LeBron is, he's the
Mm-hmm.
greatest Cavalier that there's ever been in Cleveland history. There's no doubt about that.
I agree.
Okay, he is that franchise, and I will give him credit for that. But once again, but once again, even if George Hill blows a layup, and I'm telling you, I mentioned that because he blew the layup and he blew the missed free throw, and J.R. Smith blew that last play. But you're the leader of the team. You have an overtime. You have a chance to knock off Golden State in game one. You still have 5 minutes to play. So you gather the guys are like, okay, we screwed up, we messed up, but we could come back and we could give them this game. That's what a leader does. He
Mm-hmm.
empowers his guys to say that even though the end was messed up, we still have a chance to win this game. LeBron James was half-hearted and he was not fully committed.
And he just gave up on his team. And don't forget, in game three, if you really think about game three, like Cleveland was up 13 in that game, and then KD had that 43-point explosion. Remember? And don't forget, the Splash Brothers that night were having a horrible game three. So if Cleveland closes out game one and executes in game three, they could have had a 2-1 lead going home for game four. And don't forget, LeBron did not want to guard Kevin Durant that last play in game three. It was J.R. Smith.
Yep. Yep. And the crazy part about it was is that people were saying that he didn't get enough production in that game three. Game three was a close game. So was
It
game
was.
one. You
And they had a
you look
13-point lead in game three, Cleveland.
and it's funny because in that same postseason, the Pelicans got one game on the Golden State
And
Warriors.
the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard, too. Yeah.
With that's exactly that's right. Without Kawhi Leonard, also the Spurs were able to get one game as well. People forget that as well. So again, listen, no, you don't. No, Freddie G. You don't get to get away with that. I'm sorry, you don't get to get away with that. And I'm
Oh,
gonna
what
go
did
right to
Freddie
that
say?
comment. Hold on. He says, bro, we have to be real. Any human would be pissed off. You don't understand that. I'm not saying that LeBron doesn't have a right to be pissed off, but again, this is the point where your leadership skills show, and LeBron's
Uh-huh.
leadership did not
It
show in that
didn't
moment.
show in that
Okay,
moment.
I'm talking about when the game was tied and it was a timeout. I got no problem with him being pissed. It's again how you
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. You got to look at it. Okay, it's a tie game. We still got a chance to win. He quit after that moment. Okay, and I saw that entire game. People are going, LeBron had 51, 8, and 8. What else do you want him to do? I told you he had an amazing performance, and the Warriors could not stop him all game long. And again, I could go back to the offensive foul that they didn't call, that kind of screwed things up with the inconsistent refereeing because the referee, the play calling, the officiating was BS. I'm not denying any of that stuff. Or George Hill missing the free throw, or George Hill blowing the layup, or
No,
J.R.
George Hill
Smith.
didn't get a layup. Remember, he was about to, but Clay wrapped him up, so he doesn't get a game-winning layup.
No, yeah, but my point, yeah, but yeah, that's true. But I'm saying my point is, the missed free throw, the J.R.
Mm-hmm.
Smith brother, that's on them because George Hill missed the free throw.
Mm-hmm.
And again, okay, what you call it? Freddie says that one game doesn't matter because they were getting beaten five.
I
He played for.
disagree 100%. What Freddie needs to understand, in game three in that series, Cleveland was up 13 in that game. And don't forget, other than Kevin Durant, the entire Warriors team sucked that night. So it means that if they win game one and they play better down the stretch of game three, they would have had a 2-1 lead with 2 out of 3 games at home. That's what I'm trying to tell people.
And what people also forget is that Steph Curry got hot in the fourth quarter of game two because that was actually a close game in that aspect as
It
well. So
was. It was close, but Curry just
so
cranked it on.
what I'm trying to tell people is that I'm not saying that the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to beat the Golden State Warriors, but the problem is that there were a few competitive games in that finals that people kind of overrate and saying that, oh well, they had no chance because the almighty Kevin Durant. Look, at the end of the day, they're going to lose the series, but at the same time, how is it that all these other teams gave look, you're talking about Pelicans team got one.
They
You
got
look at
one,
the
and they almost
Spurs.
got game two.
They got one. People were predicting a sweep by Golden State, and the Spurs were
Mm-hmm.
able to get one game. They got one game, but LeBron couldn't get one. And the thing is, Cleveland had an opportunity to get 2 games, not
Mm-hmm.
just one. They had a chance to get two. So even if they don't win the series, he would have gotten a lot more respect. But then it's like you come with that broken soft cast, um, you know, and that's so
And don't
enough
forget,
about.
and I apologize interrupted. The Rockets had three. They had a 3-2 lead, and James Harden wasn't playing well in that series. Don't forget.
Nah, Freddie, you're not using context with that whole thing with the comment. But anyway, we're gonna forget about LeBron James, and we're gonna go into and Raduni actually brings up a great point. So he says, what you call it? Uh, he says, forget about LeBron, obviously, yeah. And he says, let's talk about what happened with the Spurs Blazers and what they need to make the playoffs and what type of pieces that Houston has to be a contender. So what I'm going to do is this. Um, the Spurs are 13 and 18. So I remember G Money that you had told me that you said that you thought that the Spurs can make the playoffs. I still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but I will say that they've actually kind of surprised me with their play as of late.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up right now they're in the mix for those bottom playoff spots in the Western Conference. And this is actually going to be the last topic before I close out this stream and get ready for the game later tonight. Um, Basically, the Blazers, they've hit a little bit of a slide.
They lost three in a
Um,
row. Yeah.
mhm. And so G Money. So we're gonna focus on this one. And Freddie Gee, I actually will be. We'll get back to that. I'll get back to that comment in a little bit. Um, you can say all you want, man. Uh, what you call it? Let's see. Um, so what do you think that the Spurs can possibly do to make the playoffs? And do you think that the do this? I mean, what is out there for the Spurs that they can possibly acquire to make their team better? And then with Portland, what can they do to possibly get better if they're going to make the playoffs? And do you think that Houston needs to get any pieces for them to really be a contender? Because when I look at the Houston Rocket, well, you give your thoughts, and then I'm going to give my thoughts. Go ahead.
All right, so for the Spurs, I just think DeRozan all just need to be more consistent. They haven't been having, they don't have a go-to guy if you're San Antonio. And here's what's kind of a shame. Remember, this team was a 7th seed without DeJounte Murray because he tore his ACL against the Rockets in preseason last year. But this year, you have him back healthy and you're worse. That's the thing. And the Spurs need to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They've been losing to some under 500 teams. I just think the Spurs need to improve their bench. I just think that DeRozan needs to let go of the Toronto situation and play his game. And Aldridge needs to be that guy that he was in Portland. Back to the basket type guy and post up dudes, you know? That's what I'm saying. So if the Spurs want to make the playoffs, they gotta find players who are willing to sacrifice and be consistent down the stretch. For the Blazers, if Portland wants to make the playoffs, one, they gotta get Nurkic back healthy because Whiteside's a good post presence, but I don't think Whiteside alone's gonna be enough for Portland. If you get Nurkic back healthy, you have a guy who can play make, he can score in the post, who can have that little mid range shot sometimes, and they got to get Zach Collins back too. And Carmelo started off hot, but he's kind of come down to earth as of late. And defense, CJ and Dame need to be more consistent. They started the season well, but they've kind of hit a lull. And Portland needs to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Okay, they lost to the Pelicans twice this year. Lost to the Warriors, almost lost to the Hawks, almost lost to the Bulls. They're not beating the teams they're supposed to beat. That's the problem with the Blazers. When they play against the top teams, they play well, but they don't take the bad teams serious. They play play down to the competition. So if the Blazers
Hmm.
want to make the playoffs, I just think that Portland needs to get healthy, and I think they need to improve their depth because losing Seth Curry, Bo Harkless, Alfred Aminu, Myers Leonard was huge for Portland.
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to say also is that I think this is a big point. Um, I think when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs, I agree with you. I think that they need a bench. I think their bench is very weak, and they're not really getting any production out of there. To me, they really lack an energy starter, a
Mm-hmm.
six man who can really like get them like instant points off
Like a
that bench.
Ginobili. They don't have Monty Ginobili anymore. Yeah.
Like Yeah, so that's number one. Number two, I think Greg Popovich and I think Rooney made a great point. He doesn't really trust DeRozan because remember he's in trade talks right now.
Hmm.
So and if you look at their team, uh, this is why you miss a Kawhi Leonard because he's that versatile type of player that really gives you that he can do so many things that can impact your team in winning. And DeRozan, unfortunately, he's a complement to that kind of player. He's not your number one on any basketball team. He's at the very best, your third best player on a championship team. So DeRozan is a very good all-star player at best. And to ask DeRozan to really raise his game, look, DeRozan never really developed a three-point shot. So the problem is DeMar DeRozan, he is who he is. So I think to ask that from DeRozan is that's a lot. I think he could benefit a team like the Magic because they really lack a consistent score, and I think that DeRozan would actually help them because they don't really have a consistent 20-point score off
Because
of their
Aaron
team.
Gordon's been disappointing all year. Aaron Gordon, he was a beast in the playoffs last year, but this year he hasn't had that same confidence. His jumper is broke this year. He's been much of a high flyer, and that's it.
Yeah, and I definitely will look at future videos as to disappointing players and disappointing teams. I'm actually going to do that. And I think, like I said, my next video is going to be on LeBron and KD. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. I think it's
Mhm.
going to be an interesting. That's going to be an interesting one. So, like I said, I would love for people to pull up for that video. So, you know, what I was also saying with LaMarcus Aldridge, there was rumors saying that he wanted to go back to Portland.
Mhm.
Um, I think that with LaMarcus, I kind of think that the Spurs they're gonna kind of have to be sellers because the thing is they really haven't been able to win with those guys. They've had some good regular seasons with Aldridge, but the thing is when you look at his style of play, he's more of a face-up player, not a back to the basket. Because when he posts up, it's mostly really turnaround jump shots. So he doesn't really have post moves per se. So he's really more so, in my opinion, someone that really does a lot of more face ups. He can shoot the mid range. Occasionally, he can shoot the 3-pointer. He's very good with the screens.
Mhm.
He's really not that good of a rebounder just because of the fact that he's more of a stretch. He's really more so kind of like a stretch four, but who can, like I said, hit you with face ups. But he's very good. Don't get me wrong. He was more of a beast in Portland when they ran things through him before Damian Lillard became the player he became. Um, so I think with the Spurs, obviously they're gonna have to step up. But my question is that is it really gonna be enough because they don't have really anybody to rely on? So it's like I feel like they're kind of lacking a little bit of veteran leadership on that team as well. They really kind of lack leadership as well. So and it's like DeJounte Murray's not there yet. He's a very solid, nice young player, but I don't think he's there yet
Mhm.
in terms of where they want to be in terms of him at the point guard position. So he's still growing and learning. So I think that that's important. But I think San Antonio, I think this is the year that they don't make the playoffs. I just think it's going to be really difficult for them unless if they could
Then
somehow
who do
get
you
in.
think gets the seventh and eighth seeds in your opinion?
Well, before I answer that, let me get to the Blazers. I think with the Blazers, they definitely got to get healthy
Hmm.
because they've been dealing with injuries, especially with Nurkic, Whiteside. Carmelo has come back and given them kind of a lift,
Hmm.
but I think that they've kind of hit a wall a little bit now because it's like once again it's like now they got to find some consistency. Obviously, your two best players in McCollum and Lillard, they have to obviously play better. They have to find a way to move the basketball though, because I just feel like that they're too reliant on that backcourt, and that backcourt is very undersized. So when
Hmm.
you put taller, quicker defenders on them, they don't really have much of an impact if they can't score the basketball. And that's why I said with Damian Lillard, I think he really needs to grow his game and trying to kind of grow his playmaking. We kind of saw a coming of age of him in the playoffs, but it's kind of like it really kind of hasn't really translated to this season.
Hmm.
And McCollum has been actually very inconsistent this year, which is kind of surprising on his part. So he has to get his consistency back. But I definitely believe that the Blazers need to get healthy. And I think that a healthy Blazer team, they could definitely be, and they really do need to make a move. Kevin Love actually would have been a good piece for them, especially if he could stretch the floor, gives
Hmm.
them the rebounding, and if they can run their plays through him, will actually open up McCollum and Dame a lot more. So that way Dame doesn't have to have the ball in his hands a lot. So that's the thing, man. But I definitely agree. I like the comment that Raduni made. If Aldridge and Whiteside are there, Whiteside can focus on the defense and the rebounding, and
Mhm,
Aldridge could actually help him with his length, and then he could space the floor with his mid-range jump shot and not get
mhm,
in the way. That actually would be a nice little scary team right there in terms of their bigs.
mhm.
And like I said, Nurkic, him coming back healthy would be, that'd be great. Um, and then I want to talk about the Houston Rockets before we close out the show. And then I'll talk about the seventh to AC. So he said the Spurs need to trade DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, they really do, because the thing is they're not going to win with him, unfortunately. Maybe
True.
make the playoffs. He's going to have to raise his game, but it's like I don't. DeMar to me doesn't have that type of. He's not that type of player that to me can raise his game up another tier, another notch. So that's the problem. And it's true. Murray is one of the better point guards defensively at his position. I agree. And shout out to Rooney. He says if Aldridge can go to Portland and Hassan stays there, that's a great team. Yo, definitely for sure. I agree with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to like the stream and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you pop in for that Suns Blazers game later tonight. And for the Houston Rockets, they got to change their offensive system. James
Mhm,
Harden can't be holding the ball too much.
mhm.
Russell Westbrook needs to stop shooting 3 pointers and needs to be the mid range to slasher that he originally is. And if he's going to take threes, maybe 1 to 2, maybe even three threes a game, but not taking so many 3 point attempts. And like I said, the Rockets need to find a way to move the ball, because even if they have play, it's crazy how they have two playmakers, but James Harden is still ball dominant. And they're too reliant on the 3 point shot, too reliant. They don't really have and the thing is, this is the team that they like. So this is the team that they're going to stick with. And if the owner doesn't
Daryl
realize
Morey.
if the owner of the Rockets doesn't realize how delusional Daryl Morey is, uh, playing with analytics, and Mike D'Antoni playing this coaching style, thinking that they're going to win in the playoffs, you're sadly mistaken, because they're not going to win this way. And
Mhm,
then this is going to build another reason, another set of excuses for why the Rockets lose. And James Harden is not really an off-ball player. And
mhm.
like I said, his defense again is very suspect. Is he going to bring that to the playoffs? And remember how that whistle is in the postseason. He's not going to get the same calls that he does in the regular season. I mean, he leads the league in free throw attempts at damn near 13 a game. In the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's averaging damn near over 12. So it's crazy. So that's why I said that the Rockets, to me, that even though they can win regular season games, and even though they can be a contender, it's going to be the if game. And their defense is just, it's horrible. If they can
Yeah,
find a
it's
way to play,
garbage.
if they can find a way to play consistent defense, then I can see it. But until then, I don't see that.
Well, for
And so,
me, before you read the comment, what I think the Rockets need to do, they got to move the ball. They got to go to the post. They got to take mid-range shots. I understand 3 pointers are good, but like you said, if they're not going down, try to adjust and go to the paint. The game against the Warriors on Christmas Day, that showed me a lot about the Rockets. When they had that 13-point lead in that game, they settled for automatically three. They stopped going to the paint. And then they stopped defending. Like D'Lo got layups. Draymond had layups. Damian Lee had a few layups. Cauley Stein in that game. And then when the Warriors were starting to pull away, you know what the Rockets responded? They kept taking threes. They didn't try to go to the paint. They didn't try to take, layups or dunks. They kept taking jump shots. And that is why they got upset on Christmas Day. If the Rockets ever want to become a contender, they gotta consider stop shooting the threes too much and go take some twos inside. They gotta move the ball, find the open man, cut. That's the problem.
here's the thing with the Rockets: they can be scary, but here's the problem that we also have to remember: Russell Westbrook can't shoot. And if you remember
Mm-hmm.
what Golden State did in the fourth quarter when they came back, not only did the Rockets settle for threes, but remember what Steve Kerr said: because I know that Russell Westbrook can't shoot, guess what? We're gonna they took the same defense that the Raptors played on Steph Curry in game 2 of the NBA finals when they played a box and one. They did the same thing to James Harden. And if I'm other teams, I would start using the box and
Mm-hmm.
one in situations to guard James Harden, knowing the fact that it's gonna be it's if Russell Westbrook is gonna be shooting a lot more, if he's gonna be shooting 3 pointers, then yeah, I would start using the box and one.
Yeah,
I
he
wouldn't
took
use it
eight
all that
threes
time.
on Christmas and was 0 for 8 on Christmas.
Exactly, because he's not a 3 point shooter. There's times where he'll make them, and then there's times where he won't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, man. It's true. So Freddie G says the Rockets will be scary. No, they can be. They can be. I'm telling you, all those questions that I talked about, we're
Mhm.
gonna see, and that's the problem. They can be. And he says, I don't trust Harden and Westbrook. Don't get me wrong, but if those dudes get hot in the playoffs, good night. That includes the Lakers and the Clippers. That's the problem, though. I just
Uh, I sorry for interrupting. Here's what I think. Okay, I honestly think, and you may disagree with what I'm going to say here. I think the Rockets could beat the Clippers because, like I said, the Clippers. The problem I have with the Clippers, they go to a drought offensively, and I think the Rockets could take advantage of that though because they could get hot. And like I said, the Clippers don't have shot blocking. So I think you'll see Russ and Harden start to penetrate in the rim. But against the Lakers, I don't think it can work because you have AD who's a shot blocker, LeBron, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee who's a shot blocker. That's why I think the Rockets will have trouble against the Lakers, in my opinion, than the Clippers. Because, like I said, the Clippers are also kind of inexperienced other than Kawhi. That's what I think. And the Rockets are 2-1 against the Clips. And don't forget, the game when the Clippers had a 17-point lead and choked, when Russ dropped 40, you saw Westbrook taking the Rockets ran through him rather than Harden. And then James Harden started to get going in the fourth quarter. And then Clint Capella had a big second half. So I just think that the Rockets could beat the Clippers, in my opinion, but I don't think it could beat the Lakers because I just think the Lakers have too much size for the Rockets to deal with.
You know what? Here's what I think. I think that this also is another weakness of the Los Angeles Clippers that I forgot to mention, and you brought up a great point. That time that Russ went to 40, they can't deal with quick point guards. Even if
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Beverly is the defender that he is, the Clippers have trouble with penetrating point guards. So that is a
Mm-hmm.
problem. And if they don't, like I said, so when I look at the Clippers, it's how are they going to defend the pick and roll with Montrezl Harrell when they have to deal with a big team like the Lakers, and then dealing with a point guard like Russell Westbrook, how are they going to be able to defend that speed when he penetrates and attacks the paint? So that's going to be very interesting. And if they do get hot from three and the Rockets can't defend that 3-point shot, then yeah, definitely the Rockets could beat the Clippers to the 2-1. If you look at the Clippers, they're kind of a complacent team though. And if you
Mm-hmm.
look at them, they're not kind of going all out. And like I said, they're missing a playmaker and they're missing a shot blocking big that can rebound. I'm telling you, man. So I'm sorry. So it's like I mean, they have an opportunity, but like I said, I don't trust Harden or Westbrook, and I don't trust Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah,
Until I,
same.
that's the thing. If they can show me that they can trust them, I give them a chance. But I don't think they can do it. That's just me. I'm sorry. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna close out the stream. I want to thank.
Before you forgot to say, who do you think will make the playoffs in seventh and eighth season in the West?
Oh, oh, that's right, that's right, that's right. Well, I've been saying it many times to you, and I still think that it is kind of early to say right now in terms of that West because it's kind of difficult. I have picked Phoenix entering the season. I just feel like they've been kind of injured, so they really haven't had a full team, which is why it's kind of coming and going. I know Freddie G's going to get on this, and like I said, I'm gonna stick to Phoenix. I still think a fully healthy Phoenix team, if they can find a way to get together, they to me somehow I can still finally see them fighting for those seventh to eighth playoff spots. I don't trust the
Mm,
Timberwolves. I don't think the Timberwolves will be in the playoffs. And then you have the Blazers and the Spurs. It's gonna to me come down to those three
but don't
teams.
sleep on
I mean,
OKC though. OKC's been red hot though.
no, I think OKC. If the question is, can OKC continue to play like this? Because they've exceeded expectations. Most people picked them as a lottery team. If they can play like this, there's no question that OKC can possibly make the playoffs. I mean, the way that Gilgis Alexander has played this season, Chris Paul is doing a good job being the veteran leader that he is. And like I said, OKC has been they've been solid defensively. So they've
Mm-hmm.
been solid. I mean, they just got a huge win against Toronto, even though it was via controversy. And the way that the Raptors, those last two possessions, that's just
Mm-hmm.
showing poor IQ right there. And to me, that's the issue with the Raptors that I have. It's how they do in close games. That's going to be my issue with the Raptors, as well as they've played this season. But I honestly think that it's no question that OKC. My question is, can they sustain that level of play?
That's true.
That's going to be my question. But no, they definitely can do it. They definitely have been surprising for sure. But that's why I said that it's to me going to be very tough deciding these seventh and eighth playoff spots. I think it's going to be a dogfight between them and Don't forget about the Sacramento Kings as well. So
Yeah,
it's like,
Sacramento's been slumping. They lost what 7 in a row, and they've lost some close games to the Timberwolves, to the Nuggets last night, to the Suns. They couldn't. They need to close some games out. Darren Fox has been in and out a lot. Marvin Bagley. You know, the Kings really need a playmaker and they need a leader. If the Kings want to make the playoffs, they got to learn to stop relying on jump shots and learn to move the ball. And Buddy Hield, he's a good player, but Buddy Hield's an idiot at times. Like that one game against the Timberwolves, when they were down by one in double overtime, I think. He could have just drove to the rim for a layup. You know what he did? He settled for a stupid three and they lost the game. That's what I was scratching my head.
yeah, but I've also haven't liked the Kings the way that they've drafted. They've passed up on a lot of good players in the draft that they could have possibly had. And Vlade Divac sometimes gets into his ego. He could have had Luka Doncic, but he
Mm-hmm.
passed up. But he passed up on him because he has issues with his father. So it's kind of that deep hatred. I'm like, I mean, listen, man, I do what it takes to win with a basketball team, even if they may have personal issues. You got to put that aside because, again, this is a business. And again, it's what is that player going to do that's going to help my team? So you got to look at it from that aspect. I like De'Aaron Fox. I like Marvin Bagley the third. Like, I like those players. I mean, I think they're the future of that team. But Luke Walton's going to have to figure. They're going to have to figure it out. And like you said, they do really do lack leadership. That's where De'Aaron Fox will come in. They could use another veteran player for sure. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree with those points. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys come back for the Suns and the Blazers tonight at 10 p.m. I appreciate G Money coming through, and I'm going to close out the stream.
Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
everybody.
See,
If you haven't,
see you
if you
later.
haven't, wait, hold on before you
Oh, sorry,
go.
sorry, sorry.
I'm going to say what you call it. If you haven't, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. And G Money, is there anything you want to say before you leave to the chat? And basically, and I want to thank you for being a guest on the show today on LBFWN on the Karl Anthony Towns and Golden State
Um,
situation.
so for me, I'll make this quick before we have to go. I don't see Cat going to the Warriors, but I did hear about the Knicks trying to get Karl Anthony Towns. What do you think about that?
If we can get any star player to come there, it's a plus. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is we've signed too many power forwards, so I'm like pretty done with that. It's ridiculous. We lack wings. We haven't really had a point guard. It's like we need to start focusing around there and not just focusing on bigs. So
Yeah,
I mean, but he would be a nice young piece. Don't get me wrong. But like I said, with his attitude change, that's the question. So that's my thing. We need to get guys who are about the team and who are about winning.
but I don't know
Obviously,
if Cat will fit in New York because if he can't really handle in Minnesota, I don't know how he's going to handle in the bright lights of New York City. Where the expectations go up.
yeah. All right. So anything you want to say? We're closing out the show.
So yeah, you should subscribe to his channel. His analysis is great, and can't wait for the Suns Blazers game. It's gonna be a great game. I'm not a Suns fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm gonna go with Phoenix to steal that game. What about you?
I'll let you know as I do the game later on tonight. So thank you for that pick, though. He picks the Suns tonight. Who do you guys got later on tonight? So once again, ladies and gentlemen, so this is once again the LBFWN. Shout out to my man Speaking My Sports Saul D, and if you haven't, make sure to subscribe his channel. And shout out to Hirsch really quick. He says Karl Anthony Towns. And like I said, make sure you guys continue to like the
Mm-hmm.
video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to come back for the Suns Blazers game tonight at
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, as always, another wonderful stream. I want to thank G Money for coming through. And like I said, guys, if you guys ever want to come on the panel, don't be afraid. We had Layla as a guest the other day. We had Sean as a guest the other day. I want to, thank them for coming on. I've had Speaking My Sports Talk. I've had G Money. Freddie Gee, I'm still waiting for you to come through when you get the opportunity, brother. Come through. I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be fun. Uh, and trust me, we don't always do broad bashing, and you know that. So I
Yeah.
always try to broaden the I always broaden the topics. But once again, man, and yo, Anthony L, also need you on the panel. My same thing with you, bro. But once again, man, this is another good one. And like I said, like, subscribe, share the stream. Like I said, man, as always with the motto, you already know the deal. 3 pounds with the chest one time.
Yes, sir.
3 L's, baby. Live, laugh, love. Thank y'all for watching.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful rest of a couple of hours, rest up, and come back for this Suns Blazer game with me and D, man. I appreciate you, man. And make sure you guys continue to come on, man. So for the love of sports, as he likes to say, we continue to talk about it. So
Mm-hmm. Nice. See you later, man.
Peace.